Welcome to a deadline stream for Matchday 6 of Euro 2020 Fantasy Football. And to be honest, just eagerly awaiting that 7 p.m. the lineups when they are released, and then we can finalize our transfers. I did talk about all of my plans in my team selection video, and it hasn't changed too much, but it looks like Pablo Sarabia is going to be missing the game, and of course he's going to be heavily involved in most of our teams. So he's someone that probably should be gotten rid of, should I say. As for Berardi, he's someone I would like to keep ideally, but ultimately, to be honest, I wanted to just remove the eliminated players like Stecklenburg, Kimpembe, Dumfries, Spinazzola, De Bruyne in my case, but might have to use one of those transfers on Sarabia and maybe just keep Stecklenburg and avoid getting Pickford for now. But I'm going to be going through all your questions. Thank you everyone who is here. It's very early, I know, it's literally nearly 2 hours before the deadline, but yeah, I probably won't be streaming up until 8 p.m. As usual. I will probably be streaming around 7:30, and then I'll be cutting off. But yeah, thank you everyone who is here, and let's go. Michael Tumbi, welcome for joining in as always. Larry Bird as well. Hi mate. Insigne, Alba, Emison, Shaw, Torres in, all for eliminated players apart from Sarabia to Torres. Thoughts? That looks really good, and to be honest, from Spain, Torres or Olmo probably look like the best players you can go for. But yeah, I like the others. Emison, obviously, I know he scored for Chelsea against Atletico Madrid in one of his cameo appearances in the Champions League, but he doesn't really have that attacking threat most of the time, especially for Italy, but maybe he could be a great differential, and he's someone who's in my plans. I'll be showing you my plans very soon, and the modification I have made to it. Welcome, Adam. Thank you for joining in. Do you think Olmo will start, says Michael? I think he will in place of Sarabia, and if not, it could maybe be Oyarzabal, but I think it will be Olmo. Welcome Stone Hydra, thank you for joining in so early as well, of course. Let's hope for high scoring. Good luck all, says Sherry MC. Thank you, and same with you as well, and hopefully this early stream brings us all some good luck. Stone Hydra says, finalise my lineup and Sarabia and Laporte are out. Oh, Laporte is out as well. I didn't see that actually because I was checking all the news recently, but yeah, I didn't actually see anything about Laporte being out, so that's a bit strange. But yeah, there was kind of some doubts about him. But yeah, as for Sarabia, I'm not too surprised with that. Welcome the Flying Dutchman, thank you for joining in once again. Some of the other fantasy games that you've been joining in. Michael says, I have Pickford, Maguire, Shaw, Sterling, Di Lorenzo, Alaba, well, I'm guessing that's Alba, Immobile, Mailer, Kane, Morata, Torres, Berardi and Insigne. Yeah, that looks really good to be honest, and you've probably got the best assets from Spain in Torres and Alba. And yeah, it's just a solid team overall, to be honest. Di Lorenzo will play, says Aima. Well, apparently, according to the kind of team news that's been spoken about in the Italy camp, it looks like Chiesa is going to maintain his place, and so will Di Lorenzo, despite the fact that Florenzi is actually fully fit, or should I say, getting back to full fitness, and he's been in training. But yeah, I think Di Lorenzo will continue to start. Stone Hydra says, is it worth taking a 4-point hit to transfer Sarabia? If so, who would you transfer in? I probably wouldn't. If this was the quarterfinals, I'd say yeah, it might be worth it. But now that it's the semi-finals, I'm not so sure. Especially if you're taking a hit to replace Sarabia for another Spanish midfielder, and if they get knocked out, it could really, it's not going to be worth it potentially. But if you do decide to take that hit, I'd probably be looking at, in terms of Spanish replacements, definitely Olmo or Ferran Torres. I think Ferran Torres would be my ideal one. Then it'd be Olmo. But otherwise, I'd probably be looking at the likes of Insigne if you don't have them already, and then yeah, Sterling. But other than that, I wouldn't really be taking hits for too many other players. Maybe Chiesa, but yeah, other than that pool of players I just listed, I wouldn't be looking elsewhere. Is Sarabia out? I think he is, Adam, and of course we'll get official confirmation around 6:40 to 7 p.m. when the lineups are released, but I think he is. Welcome Ario, thank you for joining in. Yeah, Sarabia's out, mate. Yeah, I think so too. Just listening to the audio, if you make changes, can you voice them? Yeah, sure, yeah. I will be voicing them, don't worry. And yeah, that's a good point you raised there for people who obviously prefer to listen rather than watch. But yeah, thank you for that. I'll keep that noted. Larry Bird says, to get Alba, I have to get 5.5 million defender. Sadly, would go Bonucci. Cheers again for the info. To be honest, that might not be so bad because Bonucci could maybe score a header against Spain. But yeah, it's not ideal. I don't think he has too much attacking threat. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. With Italy defenders, Spinazzola was the one, if I'm being honest. He was the one, and unfortunately he's injured. Emison I don't think has as much attacking upside. Toloi doesn't really start. Di Lorenzo, I mean, even if he plays this game, which he should, maybe he won't play the final if Italy were to reach that. And then you look at the centre-backs, you wouldn't expect too many goals, but you never know. You never know. I think Bonucci, didn't he have a goal disallowed? in the last game, so we'll wait and see. Davey says, tuning in from Jamaica. Big up Jamaica. Thank you for joining in. And so many countries worldwide tuning in, so really humbled, and I appreciate it, of course. Will Berardi start, says Blast? Well, just like I said in my team selection video, I don't think he will. And with the team news that's been spoken about recently, today and yesterday, it looks like Chiesa is going to maintain his place in the starting lineup. Roger says, hey Dylan, how's it going? All good, mate. Hopefully even better when the football starts, and hopefully you're doing really well too. Bakul says, who to captain, Insigne or Omo or any other player? I'd go for Insigne personally because, and I'm going to go for him once he gets into my team, because I back Italy to win. The kind of only downside is that a lot of people are going to be having the same idea, especially with his haul against Belgium. But if you want a differential, I think you've just hit the nail on the head. I think someone like Olmo or Ferran Torres could really be really good. The only problem I think is that personally I don't see too many goals in that game, and I'm not confident in Spanish defenders. Maybe Jordi Alba, but I wouldn't captain him. Then I look at Italy, I wouldn't be captaining their defenders now that Spinazzola's out. And then I look at their midfielders and attackers, and really just Insigne, Chiesa and Immobile spring to mind. So it's a difficult one, but I think if you're looking for a differential, Ferran Torres or Olmo would be the ones to go for. Spanish attackers are always risky as they get subbed too quickly. That's another good point, Gaurav. Very good point. Sarabia, to be fair, got substituted off because of an injury, but Morata, I mean, he didn't get injured and he got substituted off very early. So that's a good point. Welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining in once again. Really appreciate it, mate. Neil says, do you suggest a Spanish defender if I don't have any? The only one I'd recommend is Jordi Alba. I wouldn't recommend anyone else because of the just too much rotation as well. At times Laporte could be out, and I do back Italy to score a goal or two, and also to advance, to be honest. So Jordi Alba's the only one I'd consider, and he was in my initial plans, but having reconsidered, I might not even go for him in the end. Captain Insigne or Immobile? To be honest, I'd probably say Insigne, but one thing that kind of makes Immobile a bit under the radar, apart from his kind of bad form in the tournament, is the fact that Spain concedes so many chances, especially to central strikers, so Immobile could have a field day, and if he has good service from the likes of Insigne, Chiesa and those in the midfield, then I think Immobile could actually notch a goal or two. But yeah, they're both good options, and definitely don't underestimate Immobile, but on paper I think Insigne is probably the better one. Also midfielder, could get a clean sheet point and 1 extra point for scoring a goal compared to Immobile. Have you got a wildcard squad, bro? I haven't, but I could make one in a bit. Quarterfinals did me dirty, only got 40 points. Yeah, I got 48. It's not ideal, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, it could have been worse as well, I guess. But yeah, the quarterfinals as well, some very nearly, kind of picks like Maguire and stuff like that, but a lot of people are in the same boat, to be honest. But yeah, I think this tournament has been really up and down, especially for me. So yeah, hopefully you do really well, Mohammed, and all the very best of luck today and also in the final. The Flying Dutchman says, Di Lorenzo is more attacking than Florenzi, I believe, and with Spinazzola out. That's true. What kind of puts me off Di Lorenzo is that he gives away penalties. So in the last game he gave away a penalty. He was lucky not to concede another one. And I think the game prior to that against Austria, I think he got a yellow card. So he's prone to getting these one-pointers. And remember, if you concede a penalty, even if you don't get a yellow card, you lose a point for conceding a penalty. But yeah, maybe that's a good point you raise. If obviously Spinazzola is out now, and maybe that will give Di Lorenzo more attacking license on the right hand side, and then Emison will be more defensive. So it's going to be interesting to see how Italy cope with this, because they've had plenty of injuries throughout the tournament, including Florenzi at the beginning against Turkey, and then now Spinazzola against Belgium. Thoughts on captaining Olmo? Yeah, I think if you're looking for a differential, him or Ferran Torres could be the one. Personally, I think Italy will win, and I don't favour, captaining someone from Spain against Italy with how good they are defensively. But if you're looking for a differential, I think it's worth it. And if it doesn't work out, you still have one more captaincy shout. You can go for a Kane or a Sterling tomorrow, and if not, maybe a Luke Shaw or a Damsgaard or a Mailer. So you never know. Who should I captain today, says Mohammed? It depends who you have in your team, but I would be recommending the likes of Insigne, Immobile, Chiesa, and if you're really, backing Spain, then I'd go for Ferran Torres, and if not, Dani Olmo. That's the kind of ones I'd be looking at, to be honest. Big up Jamaica one time. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. Another one. Big up Trinidad and Tobago. And yeah, I actually know people from there and known people in the past. So big up yourself, Liam. Thank you for joining in. Ferran Torres or Immobile captain. I think I think Immobile because of Spain's defence, and compare that to Italy, I don't think the ceiling is as high for Ferran Torres, but if you're looking for a differential, then Ferran Torres is the one, and like I said just now, you could always go for someone else. What about Di Lorenzo? He's a good option, okay, don't get me wrong, and as pointed out earlier by one of the viewers, let me try to get the Flying Dutchman, he could actually get more attacking freedom now with Spinazzola out on the left-hand side, so maybe Di Lorenzo is going to be getting more of the responsibilities going forward. But I'm not sure. I might be going for Emison myself, but it's going to be between him and Di Lorenzo. The thing that puts me off him, like I said, with Di Lorenzo is his, he's a bit prone to getting these one-pointers, conceding penalties or getting yellow cards. So we'll have to wait and see. And also, if Italy do reach the final, there's a possibility that Florenzi takes or reclaims his spot in the starting lineup. Marcus says, my team for the semi-final, Simon, Alba, Pau Torres, Shaw, Sarabia, Insigne captain, Berardi, Ferran Torres, Kane, Immobile, Morata, Stekelenburg, Stones, Mailer, Sterling, Forts. That's a really good team. And you know what immediately stands out to me is the amount of Spanish players you have, especially defenders. So I'm not too confident with you having Simon, Alba and Pau Torres all at the same time, but they could still offer great value. And if Spain go through, then you're in a really good position because most people will be loaded up on Italy. I already am myself, and I'm not going to be, reducing the numbers. So that could be a great differential in itself. But yeah, it's a good team overall. And I'm pretty sure you've used all your transfers already. Insigne captaincy makes sense, and that could cancel out maybe a potential Spanish, elimination. So it looks good. Is it worth to take a -4 hit for Chiesa in for Berardi if Chiesa starts? I think Chiesa will start, but of course we'll get the lineups in an hour. But is it worth taking a -4 from Berardi to Chiesa? I try to avoid it, and if you can, get rid of another eliminated player instead, because Berardi could come on and even nick an assist or a goal. But ultimately, yeah, I'd be avoiding hits if possible now, especially if it's someone like Berardi who could still outperform Chiesa despite getting less minutes. That's just my opinion though. I could be completely wrong about that. I'm going with 5 Italian because I want to think about the finals. That's fair enough, and I'm going to be doing something similar. I'm going to be kind of going all in on England and Italy. It's very risky, and don't underestimate Spain. In the Euros, they're one of the best teams historically in this competition, and actually if you look at their recent record against Italy, it's phenomenal. I think they've got something like 7 wins in the last 13 games, only 2 losses, something ridiculous like that. They beat them 4-0 in the Euro 2012 final, but they're completely different teams now, and Italy did actually beat them in the last Euros in Euro 2016, so yeah, it's going to be interesting. Forson Emison, I don't think he's as attacking as we'd like. He's definitely not going to be a like-for-like replacement for Spinazzola, but he's a differential. He's going to be 1% owned, maybe 2 or 3% by the time the deadline passes. So he could be an interesting one, but he's not as offensive as we'd like, unfortunately. Fadzli says, right now I'm with 4 Italy, 5 England, 3 Spain, 3 Denmark. If England or Italy game cause an upset, I'll have 6 players from Denmark and Spain with 5 free transfers, makes it 11 players. Yeah, that's the good thing about having 5 free transfers ahead of this game and also the final. It gives you a bit more flexibility and allows a bit more margin for error, which we didn't have going into the quarterfinals. Should I buy a Denmark player? I think if you're looking to gain rank and you're kind of catching up to people, then I'd recommend maybe 1 or 2, but I don't want to, force it. I wouldn't be recommending some random players. So ultimately, apart from Damsgaard, who, to be honest, is a bit of a hit and miss, but he's a good budget option. But I'd go for Mailer, maybe Striger in defence, and also probably Dolberg or Poulsen. But other than that, I wouldn't be going for other assets. But yeah, maybe getting 2 or 3 Denmark players could be worth it, and it gives you a bit of a safety net just in case they beat England. Fadzli says, what will the bench do for the final? It won't do anything unless someone in your starting lineup doesn't start, but there's no kind of need for that. You should just be able to sort out your starting lineup before the deadline passes. So really it just doesn't do anything unless you leave your team and then someone in your starting lineup doesn't play, and then automatic substitutions comes into play, and then someone on your bench comes on. But yeah, you wouldn't want to having players on your bench for the final isn't really that important. Dolberg or Poulsen, I'd probably say Dolberg, but I don't know, Poulsen looked very sharp when he came on the other day, so it's an interesting one. But at the moment, I'd probably say Dolberg, but they're both good options. The kind of thing that puts me off both of them and why I didn't go for Dolberg last week is the fact that it's kind of 50-50, and if Poulsen's fully fit, I couldn't tell you for sure who's going to start. Roger says, Dylan, I forgot to change Morata captaincy and now I'm in 6th place. The 5th place is 4 points away, and 4th where I was 11 points. Also, they had wildcard last match day and Luke Shaw. Yeah, I mean, it's just fine margins, and if you're on about my league, by the way, well, I'm not sure if you're on about another mini league, but yeah, I'm going to have to be checking that. But yeah, all these mini leagues are really tight at the moment. Good luck to you, Roger, and hopefully you get the position you want. Marco says, hey mate, thinking of getting Stones or Walker, Italy defender, Danish striker, Immobile and Insigne in. We'll wait for lineups, and I'm seriously considering removing 1 or 2 Spanish players. Yeah, I don't recommend getting rid of these players who still have a game, and especially if they're fully fit and they're available. But it might be worth it, maybe doing it once or twice. But yeah, I completely get your sentiment, but I probably wouldn't be getting rid of Spanish players. The only reason why I'm probably getting rid of Sarabia is because he's ruled out of this game potentially. But I would recommend for anyone who hasn't done their transfers yet, just wait for the lineups just in case, because Italy versus Spain is where we get most of the headaches from. So we'll wait and see there. Do you think Barella will get points? I think he could, and he's actually one of those differentials from Italy's midfield, along with maybe Jorginho, who could be on penalties. But other than that, I mean, will Barella get points? He's not going to be someone who's going to consistently get points from assists or goals every single game. That's just something I'd say straight off the bat. But he could be a great differential, and in that case, he's going to start all the games. And if Italy reach the final, then maybe there's one more attacking return in him, and that will really boost you up the rank. Barella or Chiesa? I prefer Chiesa, and I think he looked very lively against Belgium. But yeah, I mean, Barella, of course, he's done well in this tournament, but I'd still go for Chiesa. Who is the best Italian defender? It's a bit of a tough one. Obviously, before it was clearly Spinazzola, but right now I'd probably say it's Di Lorenzo or Emison, but I like Bonucci as well. I do like him, especially with his set-piece threat, so they're all ones to look out for. With Emison, of course, and Di Lorenzo, they're not particularly attacking, but maybe one of them will now get more license to go forward with Spinazzola out, but we'll wait and see. Captain for today, of course, right now, just to kind of clear this up, I've got on Kevin De Bruyne, but don't worry about that. Of course, I'm not going to be captaining him. I'm waiting for the lineups, then I'll be making some transfers, and Insigne will probably be my captain today, if not Immobile. But yeah, I think that's where I'm going to go today. Would you do Simon and Olmo or Pickford and Damsgaard? I'll have Torres and Alba, and I'll be having Maguire and Shaw too in both cases. I'd rather have Pickford and Damsgaard, to be honest, but Simon and Olmo could really pay off if Spain go through. I do prefer Olmo over Damsgaard this week, but as an overall duo, I think Pickford and Damsgaard is better. Insigne or Immobile for captain, they're both great options this week. I think Immobile could be a bit underrated, and I think he could get a lot of chances against Spain. But yeah, I think Insigne on paper is better. And give me a second, by the way, it's pouring down here in London, so I'll get rid of the kind of background noise, so give me a second. Alright, we are back. Yeah, it's just absolutely pouring right here, out of nowhere. So yeah, Maguire or Shaw? I think Shaw, to be honest. I think he just has so much attacking upside, and in the last match day he created the most chances of any defender. So yeah, Luke Shaw's the one. He's on set pieces, but of course they're both good options, and if you can, go for both of them. I think they're the two best options you can go for from England defence, along with Stones. Laporte still has a flag. Meanwhile, as we wait for the lineups, what do you think of investing in defence for Italy and England as favourites? That's the way I'm going myself personally, but there's no problem with, for example, going for Jordi Alba or Mela if you don't have them already. But apart from that, I'm not going to be fancying those two teams too much, especially defensively. And when you look at Spain, I would be shocked if they keep a clean sheet, because they've looked very shaken the last few games. You see the mistake they made for Switzerland's goal, the kind of confusion at the back between Pau Torres and Laporte. Yeah, it just doesn't fill me with confidence. But yeah, I would probably do what you said and kind of load up on Italy and England, as I discussed also in my team selection video. Marco says, even if Spain do go through, which I think is about 35 to 40% likely, I will have 5 free transfers to get them back in. And if they don't, then I've already gotten ahead and gotten rid of them. I don't like them this match day too. Yeah, I completely agree. And that's the good thing about having 5 free transfers. But yeah, I think you're in a good position and you are able to take 1 or 2 risks. Ali says, Benzema, KDB, Forsberg, Gossens and Denayer to Immobile, Insigne, Ferran Torres, Sarabia, Shaw and Maguire. Yeah, that looks solid, to be honest. There's no real problems there. Can you recommend an Italian defender? I probably would say Emison or Di Lorenzo, but there's something about Bonucci. I don't know, I could just envision a goal now or in the final. I don't know why, but logically speaking, I'd probably say Emison or Di Lorenzo. But the kind of bad thing is we haven't really seen too much of a sample size to see how Italy will play without Spinazzola, because then we could actually, deduct or deduce who's going to play more advanced out of those two fullbacks, and then you can pick the best one from there. Emison, Lake or Palmer. I'm not sure about that, probably Emison. Spain will beat Italy. Emison will get shredded by Pedri and Torres behind Verratti. Brainless. Fair enough. I mean, we'll wait and see what happens there, but yeah, I don't know. Spain's attack is good, but I'm just not so sure. We'll wait and see. With Spain back in the past, I always kind of backed them when they had that glory team, even before they were rated. But right now, I don't know. There's just something about them. There's too much insecurity there. But if anyone can actually win it, it's Luis Enrique. He's a very good manager. Stones or Maguire? I think Maguire has more kind of threat from set pieces and he can score goals. With Stones, he's only started to do that this season in the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, there's not really much in it. Maguire's cheaper, so you could just go Maguire, but they're both good. To be honest, there's not much in it. How many Denmark players would you have to hold rank? Probably 2, 3, but I wouldn't go more than that. Even if you're being really bold and you're backing a Denmark win, I think 2 or 3 is probably the sweet number. Dolberg or Morata? I'd probably say... I mean, that's tough because I don't really expect any of them to do that well, but I think Dolberg's a bit more likely, but I'm not sure about that, to be honest. Should I go for Immobile, Chiesa, Morata, Olmo? Out of those that you propose, I'd say Immobile and probably Olmo. I think that would be the duo I'd go for. Stones or Maguire? Maguire has a yellow card. Well, remember that the yellow cards now get reset, so that's not an issue anymore. So yeah, I think Maguire is still a good option. They both are. You could just go for him, but maybe Stones is due a goal. So, it's not always about chasing points, if you know what I mean. Walker, I think you just go with Pickford or Stones or Maguire or Luke Shaw. I think Shaw is the kind of standout, and then those others are really good too. But with Kyle Walker, I'm not so sure, and I could see him getting a yellow card in this game or the next if England go through. Welcome, Jose Manuel. Thank you for joining in once again. Really appreciate it, mate. Is Braithwaite a good differential? I think on paper he is, but I'm just personally looking at the game. What do I think is going to happen? And yeah, I mean, if I'm being honest, I think England will win, and I don't know about a clean sheet, but I just don't see Braithwaite scoring. If anything, it'll be like Dolberg or Poulsen, but I could be wrong about that. But yeah, I think if you're looking for differentials, Braithwaite could be a good one, but I haven't seen enough from him this tournament to really go for him, especially in a fixture like this. Who would you put instead of Sarabia? Well, in my case, I'm probably going to be going for Chiesa. So these are the kind of transfers I'm thinking about at the moment. So I'm thinking of getting Emison in for Kimpembe, Luke Shaw in for Dumfries, Maguire in for Spinazzola, and then Insigne for De Bruyne and Chiesa in for Sarabia. So that's how I'm looking like at the moment. Originally, I was thinking of holding Sarabia, hoping that he starts, and getting rid of Stecklenburg for Pickford, and then I have 15 players to choose from. But either way, when you look at this team, there are a few problems in there. Obviously, Berardi will probably be benched, but of course, we'll see what happens in the lineup. If Berardi does start, then I'd probably just avoid getting Chiesa and I'd just make the goalkeeper transfer, or maybe go with a differential elsewhere. But the rest is kind of nailed. I want to get Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire. I back England to go through to the final. And yeah, that's pretty much it. But of course, you look at this team, it's very imbalanced now with Sarabia out. And now I've got so many Italian players. I mean, I've got 3 Italian midfielders. I've got an attacker in there. I've got Donnarumma and Emison. So, I mean, I'm literally stacked there. 6 Italian players, 6 English, 1 Spanish, and then 2 Danish. So it's not ideal. But maybe Italy versus England, that could be the final. I mean, it's the most realistic one. I have Damsgaard and Mailer. Should I go for Poulsen or Dolberg for maybe a differential? This is the problem. Like, I'm not exactly sure who's going to start between the two, but I would suspect Dolberg if you had to, ask me, and then I'd go for him. But I mean, Poulsen's always kind of looming over, so I'm not sure about that. Your thoughts about Grealish as an asset? I think this is the thing. If you're looking for differentials this week, so if you look at Italy, for example, you look at Barella, Jorginho, these sorts of players, I think they could do really well. And then in defence, Emison. When you look at England, and this is obviously really, you're entering uncharted territory once again. Some of these differentials, they're differentials for a reason because they're not completely nailed. Apart from Kane and Sterling, all the other English attackers could be dropped. But someone like Grealish, I think he will start, but I just couldn't tell you for sure. Maybe Jadon Sancho, they could be fantastic and they could boost your ranks. But yeah, I think Grealish is decent. I don't think his ceiling is necessarily high, but there's a possibility of him starting. And if he does and he hauls, then he's a great differential for you. from a results point of view, which two teams will make it to the finals and who will ultimately win the Euros? Very good question. I mean, ultimately, I'm backing an England versus Italy final, but you can't underestimate Denmark and Spain. And I'm seeing a lot of people underestimate Spain in particular. And of course, I say this, and I potentially will end up with only one Spanish player. But I do think they're being underrated a little bit. They have a chance, but they have to take their chances ultimately. Spain have been very good in this tournament offensively, but they just don't put the ball in the back of the net at times from easy chances. As for who would win the final in this hypothetical Italy versus England, it's very tough. They both play in a similar way with a lot of energy. They're both very defensive as well. They've got a very solid defence. I mean, they rarely concede chances. Ultimately, I would back maybe Italy, but I'm not so sure about that. It could go either way. And I was backing the likes of Belgium and France to go all the way to the semi-finals and final potentially. It didn't come to pass. So you never know. Denmark or Spain could even win the whole thing, but I think I'd go for Italy, but I'm not so sure about that. Sambi says, I don't suggest getting Emison because Spinazzola is likely to play if Italy reach the finals. Just to let you know, Sambi, I mean, Spinazzola's out for 6 months, I believe. He's got a really serious injury, so yeah, he's definitely missing the Euros and he's going to miss pretty much half the season coming up. Immobile's been shit. Yeah, he has been. He's been very disappointing, to be honest, unfortunately. Thoughts on Chiesa? I think he's actually a good differential, and if Berardi doesn't start, I'd get him in, and he's a good Sarabia or Berardi replacement, I think. Somehow scammed my way to 19.5k after a banging lucky as fuck wild card where I went all in on my boys and had Maguire, Shaw, Kane, captain Sterling and Pickford. Wow, we went with Kane. Oh, for a second I thought you went with Maguire captain. Yeah, Kane captain, fair enough. Pickford, hoping maybe 15k as most teams are similar. Good luck, mate. Yeah, it's going to be a bit difficult to kind of push ranks. That's why differentials are so crucial at this stage. In my case, I mean, I'm not happy with my rank and I actually experienced a significant rank drop in this last match day. I'm just hoping to get into the top 50k and then just push on and learn from my first experience in international fantasy football, which has been up and down, really, to be honest. Simon or Donnarumma? I'd go for Donnarumma. I prefer Italy's defence. From Spain, you can always go for Jordi Alba if you want some defensive cover. Would you consider Bonucci because of potential penalty duties? He took some of them for Italy. That's a good point. I do think Jorginho will be on them. What I like about Bonucci is his aerial threat. That's what I really like about him. And he can even maybe get an assist from one of these set pieces. But yeah, I think Bonucci's one to look out for. I have a feeling he could, come clutch for Italy at one point. Chiellini not worth a mention? I think he is. And he, of course, just like Bonucci, his partner in crime, I do think he's also a very big threat from set pieces. And, sometimes, we always kind of put particular focus on certain players, and then the ones you don't talk about, like Chiellini in this case, they might do the business. So, yeah, obviously, do not underestimate any of these Italian defenders. And if you are in a position like me, where maybe you want to go for some differentials, take more risks, and climb the ranks, then maybe someone like Chiellini could be the perfect one. Morata or Dolberg? I'd probably say Dolberg, but I think Morata maybe is a bit more nailed, but at the same time, they're both in a similar position where it's kind of 50-50. They may share minutes with Poulsen or Moreno in their cases. So it's a tough one, but I just don't really see a high score for either of them this week, but I might be wrong. Mount will start. Another good question, and yeah, from England midfield, apart from Sancho and Grealish, who I mentioned earlier, Mount could be one to look out for. The thing I don't like about Mount is his ceiling is relatively low most of the time, so we'll wait and see. What do you think about having Saka? Has a good price and is fit again. I think with Saka, yeah, he's going to be a medical differential, but I wouldn't go for him personally. I just don't. I think he's going to have a more defensive role, and even if he is, getting into great positions, I don't see him finishing the chances or getting the assists. But yeah, I think from England midfield, if you want a differential, Mount, Grealish or Sancho. But then again, I mean, who's going to start from those three? They all can't start, and same with Saka. So it's difficult to predict. I personally think Sterling and Kane will start, as always. And I think the third one will be either Grealish or Saka. That's what I personally think. I might be wrong about that. Go for Pessina. Yeah, he's another one, to be fair. I mean, yeah, he's been very offensive. He scored against Wales, I believe, in the group stages. So yeah, I mean, there's actually quite a few options when you look at it. Maybe not too appealing on paper, but they could do the job. So that's a good shout, mate. Thank you for that, J-Back. Chiesa or Barella? I prefer Chiesa personally because of the positions he gets into. He's very greedy and he's very good, cutting in from the right-hand side. But Barella, he's done well too. So I think Barella's obviously going to be more of a differential, but Chiesa, I think, I just like him as an asset. Can you say three midfielders except Insigne and Damsgaard? I'd probably say Ferran Torres, and if not Olmo, I wouldn't double up on Spanish midfield, so one of those two. I'd probably say Chiesa. And other than that, maybe an England defender. Yeah, I'd say Sterling if you can. I'd go for Sterling. Shashank says, please comment Immobile, Kane, Morata, Insigne, Chiesa, Damsgaard, Pedri, Sterling, Alba, Shaw, Mailer, Emison, Stones, Donnarumma, Pickford. I really like that. And with Pedri, that's a really, really good differential potentially. But I like that, to be honest. And you've got some of the best players from different teams. I think Alba's the best from Spain that you can go for. You've got Shaw. Yeah, I really like that, to be honest. I wouldn't say there's a weakness. You've got probably the ideal front three at this point in time, so it's good. No Olmo. I might go for Olmo, but I'm just not sure. I'm backing Italy for the win, and I think Chiesa could score today if he starts. So I'm not so sure, but Olmo has actually had the most shots from any Spanish midfielder inside the box. Of course, Sarabia's been getting the goals, but it looks like he's going to be out and Olmo will be his replacement. I'll wait and see for the lineups, and if I kind of, something clicks in my head, I might go for Olmo, but in this moment in time, I'd probably go for Chiesa. But originally my plan was to keep Sarabia and move Stecklenburg to Pickford and have a 4-15. Immobile has been off. Do you reckon I should get him off for Braithwaite or Dolberg? I wouldn't be getting rid of Immobile, and I think against Spain he could get a goal or two, so I wouldn't do that personally. Sajan says, is this good? I went for 4 Italian players, 4 Spanish, 5 English, 2 Danish. That's a good balance, to be honest. It's much better than mine, especially the ones you see on screen. So yeah, I like that balance. Why have you gone for 3 Italian midfielders when only 2 will start? So just to put things into context, in this moment in time I have Sarabia, who is injured. It looks like he's going to be injured, and Olmo will take his place. Berardi is someone that I just don't want to get rid of for a hit. Berardi's going to probably come on. With Sarabia, even less chance of that happening. So I just get Chiesa and I cover him, and I back Chiesa to do pretty well today if he starts. So that's kind of the reasoning why. But I get your kind of, I'd say your concerns there. I mean, I don't like having 3 either. So what I might do is go from Sarabia to Olmo. That's a really good possibility. But we'll wait and see. But either way, ideally, I'd probably want to have 1 or 2 more Spanish players in there. I'm happy with the Danish players I have, but yeah, I might be wrong about that. I'm rooting for England, can't stand Italy. Fair enough. I mean, yeah. I don't mind if Italy win it, to be honest, but Denmark would be my ideal one. But I don't know. I don't see that happening. Insigne or Immobile captain today? I think Insigne on paper is the better option, but I have a feeling about Immobile doing well, and it'll be between them two for me, for sure, definitely. Should I double up on Italy or Spain defence? I double up on Italy defence, and if you want Spanish cover in defence, go for Jordi Alba. How are you doing today, bro? Doing very well, FPL guy. Thank you for joining in. Really appreciate it, mate. I have 5 England players, 3 Spanish, 3 Italian, and 3 Denmark. What do you think? Once again, that's a good. I think that's a good coverage and good balance, to be honest. Sancho to start. I personally think he won't. And I think it will be Grealish or Saka, and Sterling and Kane. So one of those two, Grealish or Saka, and maybe Mount in the midfield. Wait, God gives you wild card or limitless card, but you pick Braithwaite. But to be honest, this is the kind of funny thing about the limitless and wildcard chips, because if I look at myself and what I did wrong with my limitless, I probably went too much for the kind of premium players, the kind of standout names like Mbappe. And maybe sometimes going for these differentials, these cheaper players, that might have been the way to go. You have to find a balance, and you have to have a bit of luck at the same time. But yeah, Braithwaite, I probably wouldn't have gone for him anyway myself. But then again, I probably wouldn't have gone for Dolberg or Poulsen, before their hauls. Should I force using all 5 free transfers? Can I carry one? You can't carry one, unfortunately. But yeah, I would probably use all of them. You might as well, especially if you still have an eliminated player around there. Bonucci or Olmo, thank you. I think Olmo will have more of a ceiling, but I'd go for Bonucci. Besides Sterling, which England midfielder would play Surely? Surely, that's a tough one. I mean, surely I'd say Phillips, but you don't want to have him in your team, do you? I think it'll be between Grealish and Saka, but once again, it's not a certainty. And then Mason Mount. I think Mount will continue to play. But yeah, it's a tough one with Gareth Southgate. He's been managing his team very well. He's given opportunities to players like Sancho out of nowhere against Ukraine. It's hard to predict, but yeah, apart from Sterling, I don't think anyone of particular interest is completely nailed in that England team. Great stream. I'm thinking of starting deadline live streams on my channel too. Yeah, I definitely recommend that FPL guy, and thank you for tuning in once again. I mean, I said tuning in, but yeah, thank you, mate. Differential picks for the semis. Okay, just to kind of do a recap of differentials you can go for. Out of the 4 keepers left, you'd probably say that Schmeichel would be the differential out of those 4. In the defence, I'd say Emison, Di Lorenzo, maybe going for both of them. That could be good differentials in itself. And then Striga from Denmark, but I don't back Denmark to go through or keep a clean sheet. And then, yeah, from Spain, I mean, I wouldn't want to force it. I'd say maybe Azpilicueta from Spanish defence as a differential. Then when you look at the midfielders, I think Pessina or Barella, I think one of those two could be really good. Chiesa is somewhat of a differential compared to the big template that's going on. But yeah, I think Pessina or Barella are the standout differentials there. Or Jorginho, who could be on penalties. And then from England, you'd be looking at Grealish or Sancho. And I think Grealish will start. And then Mount's another one who's kind of started to pop up again. But yeah, I think Grealish could be the standout from England. So that's kind of my roundup. And then from the attack, maybe a Dolberg when most people will be getting off him or, you know, not going in for him. Or Poulsen. And then, yeah, from the other teams, maybe Moreno, but I wouldn't be backing it myself personally. But yeah, those are the kind of differentials I think the best ones you can go for this week. But there's always someone that can come up. Might be a substitute that no one expects who, you know, delivers the goods. Whoever knows? I mean, we'll see. Welcome, Adil. Thank you for joining in. Jorginho differential, yeah, I think he's a good one. And potentially on penalties too. So yeah, he could be one to look out for. Morata or Dolberg, tough one, and as I said before, there's not much to split them. I think maybe Dolberg this week, but to be honest, I look at it on paper and Italy and England, I think it's actually likely that both of them will keep a clean sheet, especially England actually. So I think Morata's probably the better pick on paper, especially with Morata, or should I say Dolberg, kind of competing with Poulsen, but Morata's also doing that with Moreno, so it's a tough one. I don't really rate any of them this week, but maybe Morata. I mean, I don't know. Earlier I said Dolberg, but I honestly can't decide with that one. I'd probably just about go Morata, but it's 50-50. Imagine Italy and England out, you need to change 11 players. Yeah, that's likely, and to be honest, it would sum up my tournament, to be honest. I wouldn't mind it, to be honest, from a neutral perspective, not thinking about fantasy. Who is more differential, Jorginho, Barella or Verratti? Well, I would want to give you a kind of concrete answer there rather than just giving my opinion. So let's go selected players. So if you see here, Barella's actually, wow, he's more highly owned than I expected. He's more highly owned than Chiesa actually. So maybe Chiesa's actually one to look for a differential there. But yeah, as you can see here, the least is Pessina, but he tends to come on as a substitute. So from the starters, it'd be Jorginho, and I think he could be a really good one. If he had ball recoveries, if this game had it, then Jorginho would be very good. He'd be getting 5 points consistently, like he did in UCL Fantasy. But yeah, I think him being on penalties potentially could be a big differential, a big boost. But yeah, he's the most differential out of those you named. Ferran Torres or Olmo? I prefer Ferran Torres, to be honest. And despite Olmo's good stats and him, I think he's very likely to start. I would go for Ferran Torres. Danish, I feel I was pronounced Danish. Yeah, no, I just said Danish. Risky gamble. Yeah, it is potentially, but I have to say this is not completely locked in. I'm going to be looking at the lineups and then finalising my team, so I'll be letting you guys know. But the likes of Insigne, I think that's locked in. Luke Shaw, Maguire, potentially Emison, but I'm not so sure about this final pick. We'll wait and see. And Mount, I think he's a good player, good differential, but I just don't like the fact that his ceiling is, for the most part, quite low. From a tactical point of view, how will each team approach their games? Do you foresee any pragmatic changes to personnel, formations or tactical approach, or do you stick with the same approach? That's a very good question, Davey. Another one. I think with Italy, like the Flying Dutchman said earlier, I think one of the fullbacks could be given more onus to go forward with Spinazzola being out. So it'd be either Emison or Di Lorenzo. But apart from that, I think Italy will be playing in the exact same way with the same energy and intensity that they've had throughout the tournament. And I think it will be an open game, Italy versus Spain. I think it will be, just like it was with Belgium, and it was a great watch. And I think all Italy games could be very, very entertaining. As for England against Denmark, that's a tough one. I think it will be tighter than what we expect. I don't think it will be a big win for England. and Denmark could even nick something, but I think England will go through, and they will still be quite pragmatic. I don't think they'll be as offensive or bold as they were against Ukraine. I think it'll be more similar to the Germany game. And if they do play Saka, that will definitely showcase that. And he could do more of a defensive job than Sancho did against Ukraine. I think England will be pragmatic and they'll do just about enough to go through. And I think Italy will just be kind of, if anything, changing the roles of the fullbacks. One of them will be more advanced than they were before. But other than that, I think it'll be largely the same. With Spain, especially if Sarabia and Laporte are out, they could maybe change a bit. But I would see them starting the majority of the same starting lineup, and they'd want to dominate the ball. Italy might actually be focused more on counterattacks than they were in the last few games. But I'd see pretty much the same style for most of them, to be honest. Who do you think will win, Italy or Spain? I think Spain should not be underestimated, but I do think Italy will go through, personally. Mount will start, in my opinion. I think so too, Dean. And same with either Grealish or Saka. But I'm just not so sure about him as a fantasy asset. Hi, when is a good time to use Limitless? Oh, this is the thing. The fact that you have both of them, then fair enough. You could just use the Limitless now. I think it's probably worth it, and then use the wild card in the final. But if you didn't have the wild card, I would definitely say use the Limitless in the final. But I'd use the Limitless now and the wild card in the final. Ferran Torres or Olmo? I'd go for Ferran Torres, mate. Insigne or Chiesa? I'd go for Insigne. Who shall I pick? Ferran Torres or Olmo? I'd go for Ferran Torres. Who should be captain? It depends on who you back. If you back Italy, I'd be going for Immobile or Insigne. I think both of them could, especially Immobile, he could get a lot of chances against that Spanish defence. And if you're looking at maybe Spain, I think Ferran Torres or Olmo. So that's the kind of ones I'd be looking at. I wouldn't be captaining a defender. Thanks, mate. With your tips, I'm at top 50 in global right now. We'll follow you for FPL tips as well after this. Well, that's really good to hear. And I mean, you're following my tips supposedly, and you're top 50, and I'm what? I'm not even top 50k, but yeah, fair enough. I mean, that's really good to hear, and hope to see you in FPL as well with the deadline streams and the videos. And yeah, it's really good that you're doing so well. Mason Mount will start. I wouldn't say he's completely nailed, but I think he will. But don't hold me to that, okay? I'm not Gareth Southgate. One annoying thing is that we can't see the Danish team or transfer them out, as I wouldn't mind a punt on one of the strikers, knowing that the likelihood is that they can come off if they get nothing. Yeah, that is a bit frustrating. But to be honest, Italy versus Spain does have a lot of kind of question marks, especially with the Spain lineup, with Laporte and Sarabia supposedly out. So in a way, you can't have it all, but I obviously get what you're saying there. Olmo or Barella or Chiesa? I'd go for Chiesa out of those three, personally. What part of London are you from? I'm from North London. North London, mate. Is it safe to go all out for Italy and England defence? I wouldn't say it's safe, personally. Especially with Italy, because Spain do actually have a decent chance of going through. So I think it might be wise to try to balance it, and I say that and I'm overloading on these players, but I'm probably more confident than most about these two teams going through, but it's not safe. I definitely wouldn't call it safe. Chiesa or Berardi or Jorginho? From those three, Chiesa, and maybe then I'd say Jorginho because he's a differential and he's potentially on penalties. Lineups out in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, fair enough. Immobile, Morata, Dolberg, choose two. I'd probably say Immobile and Morata, but I'm not so sure about Morata or Dolberg. Morata can't bite Chiellini and Bonucci. I don't think he can, but maybe he can get a goal. Who knows? I mean, stranger things has happened. What about Verratti? What I like about Verratti is he's on some set pieces, and he got an assist against Wales, but I don't know, I just don't really see a big upside to him. You think of Locatelli in the group stages, with his big haul. You think of Barella, with his shots inside the box at times. You think of Pessina being a constant threat when he comes on. Chiesa always cutting in. I just don't see that with Verratti, but he does have the set pieces. He could be a good differential. Replacement for Berardi, I'd be saying definitely Chiesa as a like-for-like replacement. If not, you could go for Olmo as a kind of like-for-like replacement in terms of budget. Italy or Spain? I'm personally going for Italy, but do not underestimate Spain. That would be my kind of opinion there. I'm 20 in my country, 4,500 worldwide. Would you say it's worth to lose 4 points if Sarabia isn't playing? It depends who it'd be for. If it's a big upgrade, then maybe it is, but otherwise, if you can help it, I don't think there's a big need. And I'm wondering, which country are you from to be 20th in the world? But that's very impressive, and hopefully you do very well and get into the top 10 there. Spain lineup leaked. Okay, the comment got retracted. But yeah, the lineups will be out soon. Which Italian to score? I mean, I wish I could tell you for sure, Chris, but just if you had to, if I had to pick one, I'd say Immobile. I think he could score, and maybe Chiesa. I think those two could be the ones. Yeah, and if not, it'd be one of these random kind of midfielders like Pessina as a substitute or Jorginho penalty. Was one of these things happening. Would Busquets be good? I don't think so, because he plays so deep, and his role, as always, is to just control and dictate the game. So I don't think he would be, but you never know. These differentials, these overlooked assets can sometimes just deliver out of nowhere and score their first ever goal, for example. Will Immobile captain be a good or bad shout? I think it's a good shout, because Spain concede a lot of chances, and if Laporte is out, then I think Italy could have a lot of chances there, even more than I initially anticipated. Verratti has the most chances created per game in this Euros. Yeah, to be fair though, he hasn't had as many minutes, but yeah, fair enough, he has. I just don't know with Verratti though. I don't really think he creates enough big chances, if you know what I mean, like the likes of De Bruyne. But you know what? If you have a feeling about Verratti, I would go for him. And he's only 3% owned. Only Pessina from the kind of realistic starters or substitutes, is less owned. So Verratti could be a good one. Have Chiesa right now, and if he starts or Belotti isn't completely out of the question, then I'll captain one of them, if not an Italian defender, as I'm quietly confident of England or Kane goal can go different. Yeah, I think that's a good thing that we have England playing tomorrow, so you could maybe go a bit more different today. So what I'm potentially thinking is, because a lot of people are going to be going for Insigne today, I'm actually captain Immobile instead, or someone else like Chiesa, who I actually do think could score. So yeah, I think that's a good point you make there, Marco. I think that kind of safety net tomorrow, it allows you to be a bit bolder today. And of course, we don't have that luxury going into the final, but that's a different case. Argentina will beat Brazil, says Raul. I hope you're right. I really hope you do. I can't stand Brazil. I absolutely hate them football-wise. I hope Argentina can do it and beat them, but we'll wait and see, to be honest. It's very tough to beat them in their country. I've got Donnarumma and Simon. Also have Di Lorenzo. Which goalkeeper should I start? Yeah, I'd go for Donnarumma still, personally. I think he's more likely to get a clean sheet. So unless Simon, saves a penalty, I would see Donnarumma outscoring him in most cases. But I could be wrong about that. And if you have, for example, Jordi Alba, then you cover Spain already and it's fine. Olmo or Torres, I'd go for Torres. Shot creating actions, that is. Fair enough. Yeah, thank you for that, JR. That's obviously an interesting point you raised there about Verratti, and it's worth considering, because honestly, I'm not that appealed by Verratti despite his good stats, but he might be one to look out for. Olmo Torres, yeah, for you, Dylan and Ewan, I'd say the same thing. I go for Torres personally. Sorry, mate, got this one. Alright, thanks, fine. Dutchman, let's see. So Simon, Azpilicueta, Eric Garcia, Laporte, so he's in. Jordi Alba, Busquets, Koke, Pedri, Ferran Torres, Oyarzabal, and Olmo. Okay. Damn. Yeah, so that means no Moreno or Morata potentially. So a false 9. Yeah, I think it would be Ferran Torres up front and Oyarzabal and Olmo on the wings. That's interesting. Yeah, that's definitely one to keep an eye on, and it's not ideal, of course, with Morata. Oh dear, but it is what it is, Tense about tomorrow, Argentina versus Colombia. Yeah, it's going to be a tough game, and yeah, Colombia, they're very physical. They like to break the play. And they're going to be playing for penalties, I think. But they're a danger. They've got some very good players like Cuadrado. But yeah, I think Argentina have enough quality to win. Hopefully Scaloni picks the right players. And yeah, Argentina can win and get to the final and win that too. But we'll wait and see. It's going to be very difficult for all of the teams involved. No Morata. Yeah, it looks like it, Jonathan, unfortunately. Sarabia, what about Olmo? I think Olmo is one of the best replacements you can get for Sarabia. And if not, Ferran Torres, or maybe go for a different team and go for Chiesa, for example. Is it worth having Morata? Surely it'd be better to have a Danish striker. Morata hasn't had a great track record so far. Well, to be honest, mate, Sarabia is probably less likely to come on from the bench if Morata is benched, if that is. And I don't want to be taking a hit, to get rid of Morata too. So I'm most likely going to be getting rid of Sarabia because my midfield is probably the weakest part of my team. So yeah, I'm probably just going to be keeping Morata there. But yeah, in hindsight, of course, Morata hasn't been too good. Donnarumma or Pickford? I'd go for Pickford. I don't know who to put in midfield. I have Chiesa, Sterling on Jorginho. Who else? I'd probably maybe go for a Spanish midfielder like Ferran Torres if you can afford it. And other than that, maybe you can get some Danish cover, but I just don't like the fact that Damsgaard always comes off around the 58th, 59th minute. That does, it's very frustrating. So maybe apart from that, you can go for a differential. You already have Jorginho, to be fair, but you could go for someone like, Let me try to think. Maybe Olmo, but I wouldn't double up on Spanish midfield. You could go for Sterling. No, Sterling. Oh my God, what am I saying? Grealish or Mount. I think, yeah, one of those two I'd probably look at, because Sancho I just don't see starting personally. Dolberg or Poulsen. I'd probably say Dolberg, but it's really 50-50 there. And I wouldn't be surprised if Poulsen comes in. Sarabia. I think he's not going to be playing, but of course we're going to get the official lineup very soon. But yeah, I think he is injured, and Olmo will take his place, and also Oyarzabal. Should I go for Dolberg and Olmo, or double in Italy defence and don't take either Dolberg or Olmo? Tough one. Double Italy defence. I'd probably go for double Italy defence, but that's tough. Kane or Sterling for captain? I'd go for Kane, to be honest. Insigne or Chiesa? I think Insigne, probably because if they do reach the final, Insigne will be nailed. With Chiesa, maybe, I don't know, Berardi comes on and scores, and then, Chiesa loses a spot again. Why don't you play Chiesa over Berardi? Well, at the moment I've got Sarabia in my team, and I'm looking to get rid of him instead because it looks like he's going to be injured. Berardi could come on as a substitute, so I could always get Chiesa in for Sarabia instead. Oyarzabal is starting, not Morata. Yeah, and it looks like Torres will be up front, so that's an interesting one. Walker or Emison? I'd go for Emison from those two. Italy lineup supposedly Donnarumma, Di Lorenzo, Bonucci, Chiellini, Emison, Barella, Jorginho, Verratti, Chiesa, Immobile, Insigne. Yeah, that's pretty much what we expected, to be honest. No changes. But yeah, can make subs after this match. Yeah, you can. You can make up to 4 substitutes depending on who you have on your bench. If you have 4 players who are obviously active tomorrow, then you can make 4 substitutes, 1 goalkeeper and 3 outfield. Kane or Sterling for captaincy tomorrow, maybe even Maguire. Yeah, I'd go for Kane. As I said, Prasham. Unless I get 15 plus points from captaincy, gonna have to captain Kane. He will definitely score a hat-trick. What a player. Wow, so that's really going bold. So unless you get 15 plus points, you're going to change the captaincy to Kane. That's a lot of confidence there. No Morata, yeah. I mean, it looks like when he got booted off in the last game, it looked like he got, Luis Enrique kind of run out of patience there. So it is what it is. Can we make subs after this match? Yeah, you can, Mohammed, you can. Braithwaite or Dolberg? I'd go for Dolberg from those two. Yeah, Morata on the bench. Why no Morata? Yeah, I mean, not a great start, is it, already? Mount or Olmo? I'd still go for Olmo, but I don't know. Maybe Mount is the safer pick. He's probably the better option. But yeah. Is Immobile still a good pick? I think he is. Yeah, I think he is. And he could even be a good captaincy shout today. If you submit your transfers, you can't change them, right? It only lets you have wildcards. Yeah, once you submit your transfers, you can't reverse your decision. And if you make further changes, you're going to be taking point hits. So you're going to be losing your overall points. Damsgaard or Dolberg, Poulsen? I'd probably say Dolberg from those 3. Emison or Di Lorenzo? This is the tough one because I'm not sure who's going to be in this more advanced position. If Italy kind of just, keep things simple and they say, okay, look, Spinazzola's a left back. He was the one bombing forward. Emison, just do what he did. Then it'll be Emison. But it's hard to tell with that. Di Lorenzo does actually get quite a lot of shots in the box compared to the touches he actually, gets in the box. But I'd probably say Emison, but I'm not sure about that one, to be honest. It's 50-50 and it could go either way. Sarabia for Barella? It could be worth it, I think, yeah. But I'm honestly looking at these Italian central midfielders, and other than Jorginho, I'm not so sure. But I might reconsider that. Would you go Oyarzabal now that he's starting? He's one to look out for, but I'd probably prefer Olmo or Ferran Torres if I could. So yeah, I'm going to be looking at the official lineups when they're out, unless they already are, which they probably are. Then I'll be confirming my transfers and I'll be explaining my decisions to all of you. But yeah, at the moment I'm not settled on that yet, my final midfield slot, but I'm pretty happy with my defence and Insigne. It's probably just that last midfield spot, unless I change Morata instead, but not so sure because I don't like the other attackers on offer really today. I have Chiesa, Insigne and Berardi. Is that smart? It could be. Berardi's probably going to be coming off the bench. Chiesa and Insigne, I think they could do really well today. So I wouldn't say it's bad. Obviously, triple Italy midfield is quite, intense, and I might go for it myself. But yeah, might not be worth it. Jorginho, Verratti, Shaw, or Barella, Bonucci, Saka, Damsgaard? Very good question. If I had to pick, I'd probably go for the first set of players. Yeah, so Jorginho, Verratti and Shaw. What's the situation with Sarabia? It looks like he's just not fit enough in time. I'm not sure if he's on the bench. So once I check the lineup myself, I'll check if he's on the bench. Alba or Stones? I'd probably go for Stones because he's more likely to go through, more likely to keep a clean sheet, and he just plays in a better defence. Today, captain, and why? I'm probably going to be going for either Insigne or Immobile, and the reason why is because I back Italy to win the game, to score at least a goal or two, and Spain concede a lot of chances, and if they do the same thing once again, then I think Immobile could be in for a lot of chances and maybe goals. Italy defence or England defence? I'd probably say England defence if you had to pick one because of the fixture, and also England just looks so solid at the moment and they've conceded the least big chances of any team in the tournament. Don't have enough money or transfers for Insigne. Should I use Sterling, Højbjerg, Berardi and Chiesa as the midfield? Oof. Yeah, I mean, that's a good midfield to be honest. But yeah, you don't want to be in a position where you're taking -4, -8 just for Insigne or another player like that. But yeah, I think it's fine. To be honest, Morata could come on after 60 minutes. Yeah, I think so too. And more likely than Sarabia. But of course, I need to pick. I need to see the lineups. You should pick Torres. Yeah, but unfortunately, mate, I wouldn't have. Actually, I would have enough money. Just forget what I said. I could actually go for Ferran Torres. I might actually do that. To be honest, I have more confidence in him than I do with the likes of Dani Olmo and all this. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at the team. This looks a bit better. I don't want to go too much on Italy. I already have 5 players. That's enough. I've got 6 English as well, of course. And if they both go out, then I'm in deep trouble. Moreno, a good cheap option. I wouldn't go for him, especially with the fact that he's not starting today. Is Olmo starting? Apparently he is. Gasper, yes, but I'll be talking about the lineups really soon when I actually go and on the lineups and check. Help, any good English midfielders? Well, Sterling's the standout, of course, but if you want a differential, I would probably be looking at either Mason Mount or Jack Grealish. I would say Jadon Sancho, but I don't think he's going to start. I could be completely wrong about that, but I'd say Mason Mount or Jack Grealish if you're looking for a differential. Chiesa and Emison confirmed, lineup already out. Thank you for that, ASR. I'll be talking about that very soon. Morata not starting, is it true? It looks like it is Callas, but of course, I haven't actually checked it yet myself, but everyone is saying that. I have 4 transfers left, thinking of taking out Sarabia, KDB, Damsgaard and Mailer for Alba, Torres, Berardi and Insigne. Alright, personally, Bradley, and I might be wrong about this, I wouldn't be getting rid of Mailer. I get why you're getting rid of Damsgaard and obviously the eliminated player in KDB and Sarabia, but I'm not sure about that. And Mailer could even outscore Jordi Alba this week, so not sure about that. Dolberg or Braithwaite? I prefer Dolberg. Pau Torres and Ferran Torres or Olmo and Maguire? I'd probably say Olmo and Maguire. It's true, Morata's benched, yeah, unfortunately. Chiesa or Barella? I prefer Chiesa, mate, personally. Oyarzabal is starting over him. Yeah, it looks like it. Morata out, Oyarzabal in. That's actually a very good differential. Let's check his ownership, actually. So let's check Spain midfielders. And let's see, selected by... Wow, he's really big differential, isn't he? Let's see. Oh my god. Wow, it would be nice if I could actually... If the cursor worked. Oh my god. This is awkward. Am I being stupid? Oh, I think he's already there. Oyarzabal. Wait, is he? Am I stupid or something? Yeah, he's marked as a forward. Yeah, okay, fair enough. You could go Morata to Oyarzabal. I'm not sure. I'm actually surprised he's ranked as a striker. I actually haven't seen him in this whole tournament. 1% ownership. Okay, that's interesting. That is very interesting. Morata to Oyarzabal. That could actually make a lot of sense. Obviously, for Sociedad, he is a winger, but can play up front. That's an interesting one. Huh. Okay, that's one to keep an eye on. Olmo and Ferran. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure about doubling up on Spain midfield, and I prefer Ferran from those two personally. Daniel Olmo already on paper, replace Sarabia. Yeah, potentially, but I might go for Ferran Torres instead. If not, maybe Oyarzabal if I really want to go for a differential. England midfield, which option? Sterling, standout, and if you want a differential or kind of under the radar player, then go for Grealish or Mason Mount, I think. Pau Torres won't start. Okay. I need to actually check the lineups because apparently he is starting. Is Sarabia a doubt because I had him? I don't think he's going to start Avani. I don't think he will. Di Lorenzo, Barella, Mount or Jorginho, Verratti, Shaw? Ooh, this is where we're getting really tough with these. Jesus. I'd probably say the second set of players, but that's literally like 51-49 we're talking about. Yeah, the lineup is out. Morata's on the bench. Don't have enough transfers left. Is it okay to stay with Dolberg from my last match day as one of the attackers? Yeah, of course it's fine. Don't worry about that. What are you doing about Morata? I'm probably just going to be keeping him anyway because apart from Oyarzabal, I don't want to be moving him to Dolberg or Poulsen because there's that kind of question mark of who's going to be playing the majority of minutes for Denmark there. And also, I don't expect Denmark to score too much against England if they do at all. Midfield, Sarabia, Sterling, Insigne, Torres, Damsgaard. That looks solid, mate. Obviously, Sarabia is a concern, so I'd be getting rid of him potentially if you have a free transfer available, Avani. Is quad English defence a good shout, plus Kane and Sterling, or is it worth spreading the risk? Well, at the moment, I am on quadruple or triple. I would have had quadruple if I had Pickford too. I think triple is probably the best number. It's 2 or 3 defenders is the best number. 4 might be a bit too risky. But it's still good, if England go through, they get a clean sheet, then, you're laughing, really. So it might be worth it. Dolberg or Braithwaite? I'd say Dolberg, mate. Just found out Morata not starting. Yeah, it's a big blow for all of us. Do I take a hit for Sarabia and or Berardi? I mean, the fact you have both of them, then it's potentially, a viable option to go for a hit. But it depends who you're taking a hit for, because if it's for someone like Olmo, I personally wouldn't go for it. That's just my opinion. Emison or Bonucci? I mean, I've said that I have a feeling Bonucci could do really well in this game or in the final if Italy were to progress, but I'd probably say Emison. That's who I'm going with myself. But with Emison, really, he's just a differential, and I'm hoping that he plays in an advanced role like Spinazzola did, but I'm not sure if he will. Olmo or Chiesa? Out of those two, I'd probably go with Chiesa. Spain can win with Morata on the bench. maybe. But then again, it's not just him missing the chances, What should we do? Shall I put Oyarzabal person or shall I leave Morata? If you have a free transfer to spare, you like your midfield, you like your defence, you like your goalkeepers, then it might be worth doing that because he's a mega differential. You can see here he's 1% owned, so it might be worth it, to be honest. But I look at Italy's defence, and the only one I could really see, like realistically scoring, is Ferran Torres. That's just my opinion, but I'm not sure. I have Insigne and Immobile, and I have Torres. Should I go for Chiesa or another Spanish player? I'd probably still go for Chiesa. What is Spain's attack? Spain's attack is apparently Ferran Torres, Oyarzabal, and Dani Olmo. So that's the front three. I just think Mela will not get many points. I see England possibly getting a clean sheet. I get that, Bradley, but if there's any player you want from Denmark, it'd be Mela. Olmo or Chiesa or Mount for this match day? I'd probably say Chiesa, but maybe this match day in particular, Mount will outscore the other two, but I just like Chiesa overall. Will Morata be in after half? He might do. So similar to how he got substituted off at half time, he might come on at half time or after 60 minutes. Best 4-man defence, Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire or Stones, an Italian defender like Di Lorenzo, Emison or Bonucci, and I'd say Mela potentially, just for his attacking potential. Sarabia to Grealish for a hit. Ooh, that is really risky territory, and I'm not sure if Grealish has that big of an upside to justify the hit, but it might be worth it. If you're asking me, Daniel, I personally wouldn't go for it. So Jose Manuel says, what do you think about Donnarumma, Walker, Maguire, Mela, Sterling, Berardi, Insigne, Barella, Jorginho, Immobile, Kane? Looks really good, to be honest. I mean, I'm trying to pick out a hole there, but I like that too. You've got Barella. Berardi's the only kind of doubt you have there, but he could come on and still do something, so I like that. Should I take a 4-point hit to take out Sarabia? As I said before, Hassan, it depends on who, so let me know who you're thinking of, and I'll tell you if I think it's justified. But ultimately, hits can still pay off. I hesitated last week not taking a hit for Maguire, and then it would have paid off if I did it, so sometimes it's worth it. Berardi on the bench, right? Yeah, it looks like GZ, and I'll be talking about the lineups very soon and reading them out to all of you. What about the hit took for Chiesa? Worth it? Or what about if you took a hit for Chiesa? If it's a hit for Sarabia out for Chiesa, I think it might be worth it, but honestly, like the only ones I'd definitely take a hit on in that situation is getting someone like Sterling if I didn't have him already, but or Insigne. But yeah, Chiesa might be worth it too. Would you pick up Rashford? I would also have Kane as a differential England forward. I'm just not sure if Rashford will start, so I don't know if I'd go there personally. Is the lineups out yet? They are, Edison, and I'll be talking about it soon. Is Verratti safe pick, mate? He will be starting. Fantasia. I leave Dolberg as my striker partner with Kane tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, there's no problem with leaving Dolberg. The only problem with him is sharing minutes with Poulsen and also just facing England, who are, according to the bookmakers, the most likely to keep a clean sheet. But Verratti is a safe pick. He's on set pieces. He creates a lot of chances. But I just don't like Verratti in general as a fantasy asset, but I could be wrong there. Sarabia changed to whom? I'd be looking at Chiesa, Dani Olmo, Ferran Torres. I'd be looking at these sorts of players. Of course, Sterling is a standout, or Lorenzo Insigne if you don't have them already. Chiesa starts as official. Yes, it is. Worth taking a -4 point hit for Chiesa? It might be. But yeah, obviously with these hits, it's, the longer we go on, now that we're in the semi-finals and the final, I'm just less, kind of inclined to suggest hits here. Yeah, Morata isn't playing. What the hell? Exactly, Sambi, but it happens. Chiesa, Olmo, or Verratti? Out of those three, I prefer Chiesa. Who do you think will take Spanish penalties? Do you think that's a great question? I actually think it'll be Oyarzabal because he missed a penalty against Manchester United in the Europa League, but before that, I think he scored something like 17 or 18 penalties in a row. So yeah, he's a very good penalty taker. He scored one, I think, against Switzerland in the penalty shootout. So I think it'll be him. Almost playing false nine. That's an interesting one. Because at times it'd be Ferran Torres playing as a striker. So that's one to look out for. Olmo could actually be really good this week. Transferring in Oyarzabal, Torres and Alba for Morata, Torres and Alba. Worth of -4. Not confident about Spanish attackers' rotation though, especially considering the opposition. Yeah, and you're getting rid of Alba too. Wait, I'm not sure about that because you say you're transferring him in out. But yeah, Morata, Torres. Yeah, I get what you mean. It's a tough one. Yeah, which trio is better? I mean, I'm not sure about the Spanish attack either to double or triple up. I think one's enough personally, or maybe double up. Obviously, look, you look at my team and I've got a double up, but that's only because I already had Morata anyway and he's benched. If I had, the kind of ability to make unlimited transfers, I wouldn't have Morata in my team right now. But yeah, I think triple Spanish, 4 Spanish, maybe it's too much. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Flying Dutchman. A -4, I personally wouldn't do it. Personally, that's just what I think. Barella or Ferran Torres? I'd go for Ferran Torres out of those two, but Barella could do really well this week. Dolberg or Oyarzabal? I'd say Oyarzabal. How many subs can we do after the Italy-Spain match? Yeah, you can make all 4 substitutions as usual, mate. Don't worry about that. Your goalkeeper and your 3 outfield players on your bench, you can all substitute them out, or substitute them on, should I say. Olmo or Torres? I'd go for Torres, but if Olmo's playing in this false 9 position, he might be one to look at. Morata, Paulson or Dolberg? I'd probably say Dolberg. Spain pens where Morata, Moreno, Forte or Oyarzabal? Yeah, I think it will be Oyarzabal. Immobile, Insigne, Sterling, Berardi, Torres, Mount, Alba, Bonucci, Shaw, bench, Kane, Shaw, Mailer. That looks really good, Curtis, and you've got some differentials in there. Play Olmo. I mean, I haven't got him in yet. I need to make my transfers, but yeah, I'm going to consider it. Olmo or Torres? At the moment, I'm going for Torres, but maybe Olmo's worth it. Yeah, Morata's not starting. Walker or Maguire, and why? I go for Maguire because he's just more nailed in general. Walker, I think, is probably a bit more prone to getting a yellow card. And Maguire's got a lot of threat from set pieces. He's very good in the air, so I'd just go for Maguire. He's also cheaper. Sarabia, Chiesa. Yeah, I think that's a good transfer aim. Are the lineups out yet? Yes, they are, Edison. Should I put in Chiesa? I think so, Hassan, but for a hit for Sarabia, I'm not sure. But I think Chiesa is one of the best options to replace him. I've said this before. Who to get in? Berardi for Morata. I have a wild card, so transfers isn't an issue. Okay, so you've got a wild card. If you want a differential, maybe Oyarzabal instead of Morata. And for Berardi, either Chiesa, maybe another Italian midfielder like Jorginho or Verratti, or also Barella. And yeah, other than that, I'd say maybe Ferran Torres. Is a -12 worth it? Not for me, Sam G. Definitely not. -4 is probably the max I'd do this week. Score predictions for tonight. Thank you for reminding me, actually. Let's actually get my predictions up. Remember, if you go on the kind of section, the Euro games, there's actually one where you can make predictions. So I'll be showing you what I'm predicting at the moment. Yeah, forget about the tournament predictor. It's a match predictor. So what did I go for? I think 2-1. Oh no, I didn't even actually make them. Thank you for reminding me, mate. Really appreciate it. So I'd probably go for, I mean, look, this is the most common prediction, 2-1. I don't want to be boring there. I think it could be another 2-1 for Italy. It's a tough one, actually, because this game could either be really tight, there's not many goals in it, could go to penalties or whatever, or it could be a high-scoring game, a great game. So it's a tough one. I'll probably just go for 2-1. First player to score, first team to score, Italy. First player... This is where it gets a bit interesting. I'd probably go for... Yeah, look, it shows here who's starting and who's not. I'll be going for the lineups now, actually. I'd probably go for Immobile to score first, but I'm not sure about that, to be honest. Might be Chiesa. And then for England, yeah, I don't know about 2-0. That's a tough one as well. I mean, I'll just for now put 2-0. I like their defence. I'll have this ready for tomorrow, potentially. Go for Harry Kane again. And I'll use the ×2 booster. A bit more confident in that game. But yeah. -4 switch, Berardi for Barella. I wouldn't do that, Digor, personally. I wouldn't do that. Sarabia not on the bench. Yeah, let's check the lineups now, actually. Thank you for that. And there's 377 people watching. Really appreciate it. Just quickly, if you haven't already, smash the like button and subscribe if you're new around here. And yeah, just share this video around with anyone who loves UCL Fantasy, FPL, and Euro Fantasy Football. And also follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same as my YouTube handle, Dylan_RCM. I'll be talking about my team and my transfers. I'm going to be locking them in right now. And also going through all your questions and comments. So really appreciate it. And the rain has calmed down now in London, which is good. Because earlier it was an absolute mess. But yeah, cheers everyone for joining in. Let's get back to it. And yes, here we go. And yeah, I'll be kind of still dithering about this final transfer. But let's look at the lineups, the official lineups. I'll check SofaScore. And yeah, let's get this up. So... people have already talked about in the chat, but just for anyone who hasn't heard or seen yet, the lineups are Donnarumma in goal for Italy, Di Lorenzo, Bonucci, Chiellini and Emison completing the back line, Barella, Jorginho and Verratti, and then up front Chiesa, Immobile and Insigne. As for Spain, it's Unai Simon, Azpilicueta, Garcia, Laporte, Jordi Alba, Pedri, Busquets, Koke, and then up front it's Olmo, Oyarzabal and Ferran Torres. Oyarzabal playing up front apparently. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. And he could be a very good differential, Oyarzabal, at 1% ownership, and could be a great Morata replacement. But then again, they are facing Italy, so let's wait and see. Yeah, this is my team right now at the moment, mate. But well, this is my official team. But of course, I haven't made the transfers yet, and this is how it would look after the transfers. If Sarabia was fit, then I would have just kept him, and I would have made a Stekenberg to probably Pickford goalkeeper transfer. Or if not, I might have taken a punt, Morata to Oyarzabal. But I think right now my midfield is what needs the most work because Berardi's benched, and then yeah, Insigne and Sterling are very good. Damsgaard though also likely to come off before 60, so I think midfield is my weak link and I need to address it. So what I could do at the moment, I'm going to be looking probably at the Spanish players, Spanish or Italian players in midfield. So yeah, it'll be between I think Ferran Torres, Dani Olmo, Federico Chiesa, Barella, Jorginho or Verratti coming in. One of those are probably going to be coming into my team. I just don't like the uncertainty with England. I could go for Mason Mount, but I'm just not so sure. I've already got too many players, I think, anyway, from England, or almost. So yeah, I'm just not sure about Mason Mount. I might actually just go for Ferran Torres or Chiesa. I think that's where I'm going with at the moment. But yeah, going to be locking in my transfers very soon. Italy clean sheet, Ars Hamit. Not so sure about that. I mean, I think Spain could score in this game, but yeah, if there's any team that keeps a clean sheet in this game, I would suspect it to be Italy, but I'm not sure about it. Keep Morata and transfer out my eliminated defender, or get Oyarzabal and keep eliminated defender. I'd probably get rid of the eliminated defender personally because Morata could come on as a substitute. Max amount of hits you would take, like -4, -8, -4 probably. Last week I said -8 would be the max, and I probably should have taken a -8. This week is -4 personally. Barella or Chiesa and Emison or Di Lorenzo. I'd probably say Chiesa and Emison. Chiesa or Barella, Chiesa for me. Emison or triple up on England defence. You could just go for Emison and kind of balance it out in that way, but England are more likely to keep a clean sheet, I think. Alba or Di Lorenzo or Emison, I'd go for Emison, but they're all good options. Kane plus Immobile plus who, says Ahmet. Yeah, as for the third strike, I say Oyarzabal. If you want a punt, I think 1% ownership, he could do really well today. My aunt is saying it's going to be 2-3 Spain win. Wow, I mean, if she gets that right, then fair play. She should make some bets. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, but maybe 3 goals against Italy, I'm not so sure. But stranger things have happened. Should I stick on Morata? If you have a free transfer available, you like the rest of your team, then you could just move him on to Oyarzabal. Should I take a hit on Morata out for Oyarzabal? I probably wouldn't, personally. Chiesa or Torres? Sorry if you said this before. No worries, mate. I probably would say... I mean, actually, If I'm honest, I don't know, because that's literally what I'm deciding right now. Ferran Torres or Chiesa. If you're in a situation where you already have a lot of Italian players and not many from Spain, then you could just go for Torres and balance it out that way. I think if Spain do something today, Ferran Torres will be a big part of it. Mate, Oyarzabal or Dolberg? I'd go for Oyarzabal. Thoughts: Donnarumma, Mela, Stones, Maguire, Alba, Damsgaard, Ferran Torres, Berardi, Insigne, Kane, Immobile, Shaw, Morata, Sterling. Thoughts? Very good, Diego. Really good. That looks exceptional. You got pretty much most of the players that you'd want. Obviously, if you do have a free transfer available, then I would recommend Morata to Oyarzabal maybe, or another one. But yeah, the striker options other than Kane and Immobile aren't too promising. Barella or Chiesa? I'd go for Chiesa, Kevin. Is it worth taking a hit on Berardi for Chiesa, Verratti? Oh, I'm not sure about that. I probably wouldn't. If you were to take one, I'd say for Chiesa. Alba or Emison? I'd go for Emison. Emison or Stones? I'd go for Stones, but if you already have a lot of England defenders, then just go Emison. Yeah, Leighton, I said Oyarzabal. Thank you for that. Should I take a hit on Morata out for Oyarzabal or Dolberg? I wouldn't for either, but if you were to take one, I probably would go for Oyarzabal. Yeah, the lineups are out, Bartek. Should I play Chiesa or Torres? I already have Berardi and Insigne. Remember, you can make substitutions. So if you have both of them, then you can just start everyone. So if you go on the website or the app, for example, click on the date, and then you'll see the date that obviously they play in. And anyone who's playing tomorrow, have them on the bench. And then if anyone blanks from today's games, substitute them out and then bring on those players on your bench if they were to start tomorrow. So yeah, there's no real need to ask if you should start this player or that player. If it's a case of bringing them in, then unfortunately I don't know the answer to that. Yeah, it's going to be 50-50 for me. Torres may have some joy against the weaker defender in Emison. That's true, and if you do get Emison in or an Italian defender, then you can cancel that out potentially by getting Ferran Torres. That's a very good point you make there, Nick. I don't really rate Emison defensively or even as a fullback in general. Morata's benched, yes he is. Baraka. Oyarzabal, good choice. Yeah, I think he is. In terms of if you want a differential, he's come out of the blue now, and if you already have Immobile and Kane and you've got a free transfer to spare, then it might be worth it just going Morata to Oyarzabal. So yes, it's a good point you make there. Barella, Chiesa or Olmo? I'd probably go for Chiesa, but Olmo's a good choice, and so to be fair, so is Barella. Emison or Di Lorenzo? I'd say Emison, but it's very, very tough. I don't know who's going to be more offensive in this game because we haven't seen enough since Spinazzola's been injured. Best Italian defence options, Emison or Bonucci? Them two and Di Lorenzo are definitely the standouts. If I had to pick one, I'd probably say Emison because of the low ownership, and he might, just inherit Spinazzola's role in the side. But I don't know. Oyarzabal is 1%, exactly, Baraka. That's why I really like him. And if I had a free transfer available, and I, had a happy or good midfield, then I would actually be going for him. Immobile or Insigne for captain? I think Insigne is going to be the most popular captaincy choice, and with good reason. But if you want to go a bit different, but still, I'd say, still captain someone relatively high owned, then go for Immobile. Paulson or Dolberg? I'd go for Dolberg, Nick Tan. Bonucci or Chiellini? I want Bonucci, but game is saying Chiellini. That's a tough one. I mean, Chiellini's going to be lower. He's going to have lower ownership, I believe. So you might just, you could just go for him. But yeah, I think they're both good options. I do like Bonucci too, to be fair. I'd probably go for him, but if you want a differential, go for Chiellini. You can see the impact of Oyarzabal in the last match against Switzerland. That's true. And he's a good penalty taker. You would expect him to be on them. So yeah, that's a good point you make there. Please, captain Immobile, Insigne or Chiesa? I would go, personally, I'd go for Immobile maybe. It's between him and Insigne. But on paper, Insigne is the best captaincy option. But I don't know, there's something about this game that I think Immobile can get chances. But then again, looking at it on the other side, in the last few games, Immobile hasn't been too impressive. Against Austria, he wasn't too bad, but I just didn't like him against Belgium at all. Azpilicueta worth a go? I think if you want a Spanish defender and, Jordi Alba's the standout, but otherwise, yeah, I think Azpilicueta is the best one. Do you think Grealish gets any playing time? I think he will, and I think he may even start. It's between him and Saka, and I think Sterling and Kane will complete the rest of the front three. 2 English defenders or bring in Olmo or Chiesa? I get 2 English defenders, Brandon. Should I take a -8 hit to move Sarabia out? I wouldn't do that, Salman, but that's just my opinion. To be fair, Sarabia is apparently out. Oh yeah, that's another thing I didn't do. Thank you for reminding me. Checking the benches. So Italy's bench: Meret, Sirigu, Toloi, Acerbi, Florenzi, Bastoni, Cristante, Locatelli, Berardi, Bernardeschi, Pessina and Belotti. Then we look at Spain. Robert Sanchez, De Gea, Llorente, Pau Torres, Gaia, Rodri, Reis, Llorente, Alcantara, Morata, Moreno and Traore. So yeah, Sarabia's not even on the bench. So it might be worth, because in essence he's technically like an eliminated player. Even if Spain go through, is Sarabia going to make it for the final? Is he going to be fit enough to start? There's a lot of question marks, so it might be worth taking a hit for him. But a -8, I'm not sure. Make your final team. I will be doing that. Don't worry, mate. I'm just... If I'm being honest, it's just this last midfield transfer that I'm just not sure about. But the rest, I'm pretty happy with. I'll be locking into my team, so don't worry about that. If I do forget, then of course I'm in the mud. And then my rank will go down even more. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Ferran Torres or Chiesa, I think, is the most likely. But maybe a differential is the way to go. But I have to wait and see here. Insigne definitely is going to be coming in. I think he's a standout this week. Emison or Bonucci or Di Lorenzo, there's an argument to be made for all of them, but I definitely want that Italian defender. I think I might, I don't know, Ferran Torres or Chiesa, I just don't know, to be honest. Morata, I wish I had the extra transfer for Oyarzabal. But yeah, I think Ferran Torres or Chiesa or someone like that. I don't know. I mean, I was talking about the game earlier and I was talking about likely scorers and I did say Immobile and Chiesa, so it might be worth getting him in. But yeah, I'll be finalising this later. Ferran Torres or Olmo? I would probably say Ferran Torres. Do I captain Ferran Torres? If you're looking for a differential, if you back Spain, then I would recommend that. Otherwise... personally, I would go for Immobile or Insigne, or maybe even Chiesa. But if you like Spain and you think they're going to go through, then I think, yeah, he's the best one. I just said I think like I'm Mourinho. According to the news, Morata has benched. Yeah, he is, Brian. He's benched. Would you take Morata out and put Belotti in, knowing both will come on later? Nah, I wouldn't make a transfer from that. Yeah, I wouldn't make a transfer for that, in my opinion, unless it was someone who's starting already. Alba or Bonucci, because Alba is more attacking, but Bonucci is an attacking threat. If you don't have Italian defenders or you only have one, I just go for Bonucci. But if you already have 2 or 3 Italian defenders, then yeah, just go for Alba. Koke is a decent shout, takes free kicks and good ones too. That's true, but if I'm being honest, from Spain's attack, I just like their front three. I don't like Koke in this tournament. Of course, he's taken some good set pieces, but I just don't like how he's been playing. What team would you play if you had Limitless to play? If I had Limitless to play, I would definitely be going for Immobile, Kane, and I'd still be going for Oyarzabal up front. In midfield, I'd be going for Sterling. Probably going for Ferran Torres, Insigne, Chiesa, and maybe another English midfielder there, like Mason Mount or Grealish. And then in defence, I'd be going for Luke Shaw. I'd be going for maybe Emison, Di Lorenzo, John Stones, Maguire, these sorts of players, Jordi Alba. So yeah, picking 5 of those that I've just mentioned. I'd still go for Mailer just because of how offensive he is, and the goalkeepers Donnarumma and Pickford. But to be honest, you're still going to have money to spare, so Limitless isn't really, as helpful now as it was maybe in the group stages or in the early stages of this tournament when we still had Ronaldo, Mbappe and all these sorts of players that we were investing money in. Should I? Oh yeah, I've already answered that question. I already have 4 Italian players, including Berardi, Chiellini, Insigne and Immobile. Who should I replace Sarabia with? Fair enough. If you already have 4 players and you don't want to go with any more, then I maybe just go for another Spanish player like Ferran Torres or Olmo. That would be my suggestion. But otherwise, I think Chiesa's a good one. Di Lorenzo or Emison or Alba, who's likely to get points? Would appreciate opinion. Love the content. Thank you, Sam Whitehead. Really appreciate it. I'll be honest, I'm not completely sure about the Italian situation because, as I said, I don't know who's going to be assuming this attacking role that Spinazzola is obviously leaving vacant with his injury. But if it is Emison, then of course I'd be backing him. But yeah, with Di Lorenzo, what I don't like about him is that he can concede penalties and stupid fouls and yellow cards. So maybe Emerson's the way to go, but it's just there's no real clear answer there. But from those 3, I'd say Emison, but it's just not much in that. Would you not think it's best to swap Morata out for Belotti? Not in my opinion, because Belotti's also on the bench, and if you already have Immobile up front and you have Insigne, you have Chiesa or another Italian midfielder, then there's no real need to go for a double Italian attack. You could always go for Oyarzabal as a differential, or Dolberg potentially. Yeah, Morata's not starting, James. Should I take a -4 for Sarabia? If so, what £7 million options, please? Well, if it's 7 million on the dot, then you can't afford Chiesa, who's 7.2. So maybe it's worth looking at Dani Olmo. Let's actually double check his price. I don't want to obviously give you false information here. So where is Dani Olmo? I think he's a bit down here. Yeah, he's 7.2 actually. Okay, yeah, he's gone up. I'd probably be looking at then Jorginho, Barella. Yeah, I'd be looking at one of those two. Or Verratti. So yeah, I'd be looking at one of those midfielders if you want someone under 7 million. But if you had 7.2 million, then Chiesa would be my first choice. Pedri or Torres? I'd go for Torres. I have to have one non-starter. Should I go Saka and Morata or Oyarzabal and Berardi? Very good question, Hayden. I'd go for Oyarzabal and Berardi, but yeah, it's a tough one. Should I captain Chiesa? I think he's one of the actually better and underrated picks this in this match day for the captaincy. Dude, your content is awesome. Big up, mate. Thank you, Barakov. Really appreciate it, and hopefully you join in for more videos and live streams. And if there's any way I can improve, which obviously there's definitely some ways to improve, then let me know. But yeah, thank you, mate. Really appreciate it. Oyarzabal as a pun instead of Morata. Or a Denmark forward looks nice, as we can sub him out if it fails, and frankly a lack of striker options. Obviously Italy's still very good defence, but England to bring on. Yeah, like you said, Marco, before, it's a really good point you raise. I think the England game, assuming that they go through and they do as well as we hope or expect, I think it is worth it. So maybe take a punt on these Oyarzabals of the world. But yeah, I definitely would be bringing them in, but I just don't like my midfield because Sterling, Insigne are very good. I like them. But Damsgaard, he's a bit iffy. Berardi's not even starting. Sarabia's injured, so I need to get rid of them. And then with Shaw and Maguire and Emison, I'm replacing them or bringing them in for either injured players or players who have already been eliminated. So, yeah, unfortunately, I won't be able to join the Oyarzabal train, I think, but he's definitely one to look out for. I think he could do really well today. Transfer out Morata or Moreno for Immobile. I would probably take out Moreno, but I could be wrong about that. That's another 50-50 call that could go either way. Back your gut on that one, but I probably would say get rid of Moreno, but that could easily backfire. Go Torres so that if Italy lose, you don't have to remove 5 Italy players. That's a good point. I might do that. But honestly, if I'm looking at the game, I really back Italy to win the game. And I think if Italy do score, Chiesa could be the one. So it's between Ferran Torres and Chiesa to come in. I probably won't be going for one of these kind of more low-key picks like Jorginho, Verratti, and Barella, but maybe that's a mistake of mine. Dude, imagine captaining Oyarzabal. Yeah, but if it pays off, then it's really good. So who knows? Thanks, mate. And I don't like Spain. I'm all for Italy, says Matteo. Oh, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I thought from your name you might have supported Italy, but I've seen Croatians with that name, for example, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean. Oh no, I've read that wrong. I mean, okay, I'm stupid. Never mind. I'm all for Italy. Yeah, that would make sense because you might be Italian. You don't like Spain. Fair enough. I don't know why I was reading there. Barella or Chiesa? I'd go for Chiesa, mate. -4 on Berardi to take Chiesa or Barella. I would probably. Oh, is it? I prefer Chiesa out of the two, but if it's a case of getting Barella in without a hit, then it might just be worth doing that instead of getting Chiesa for a hit. Are you keeping Morata? I probably will if I had the opportunity to, make another transfer, then I would get rid of him for Oyarzabal. I have Morata, Moreno. Who should I transfer out for Immobile? I would take out Moreno, mate. Is it okay if we do not have an Italian defender? I think you can get away with it, but I would recommend one Italian defender. That's my opinion, but I could be wrong about that. Who do you think will get more points, Di Lorenzo or Emison? Di Lorenzo, a possible good choice of attacking differential. Yeah, Di Lorenzo has been fairly attacking. I just don't know about him because also Florenzi's back. He might actually take his place in the final. With Emison, he's literally got no competition now that Spinazzola's injured. And Emison might actually assume a more attacking role. But to be honest, you know what? Looking at it objectively, I do think that Di Lorenzo is going to be the more attacking fullback. But then again, it comes with the price of will he be starting in the final if Italy were to reach it? So it's a tough one. It's really tough. I might go for Di Lorenzo in the end. But yeah, Emerson's also someone to look at. Should I take a hit for Spinazzola to Bonucci? I probably wouldn't, personally. Barella or Chiesa? I'd go for Chiesa. Are you going to take Morata off? I probably won't because I just don't have enough transfers. What to do with Morata? If you have a free transfer and you already have Immobile and Kane, I would recommend getting Oyarzabal as a like-for-like replacement for Morata. Barella or Chiesa? I'd go for Chiesa. Di Lorenzo looked edgy in defence last match. I think Olmo will be a key player tonight. Yeah, and that's another thing with Di Lorenzo. I think he's a bit insecure. He considered the penalty against Belgium, and he just constantly concedes fouls. He gets yellow cards. He can get these one-pointers. Remember, you do lose a point for conceding a penalty in this game. So, yeah, that's a very good point. Fancy Sterling over Chiesa or Olmo? Yeah, I prefer Sterling over those two, definitely. If I didn't have him, I'd be bringing him in instead of the other two. Do you think a -4 hit is worth it to bring Oyarzabal in for Morata? It could be, but I just don't know. It's very risky, so I'm not sure about that. They are facing Italy after all. Went bold, lad, and put Barella instead of Chiesa. Fair enough, and these kind of decisions could really benefit you, so good luck with that. I'm not even sure how I'm going to go in the end, but yeah, it's a tough one. It's a very tough one. Let's see. I mean, I've already got Donnarumma in goal, so I'm just not sure. I've already got double Italy defence. I mean, what I might do is balance it out in a different way. So get yet another Italian midfielder in Chiesa, and maybe instead of Emison, I could go for Jordi Alba, because he's the only kind of Spanish attacker or Spanish defender that I'm really interested in. With Spanish attackers, I'm just not sure. There's a lot of rotation there. I would expect Ferran Torres to be the most likely to score. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just a really tough one. Dolberg or Oyarzabal? For this week, I'd probably say Oyarzabal. When will Morata come on? Probably after half-time. And I'm guessing maybe the 50th, 60th minute mark, depending on how the game is going, of course. Who to replace Morata with? I'd say Oyarzabal. Do you think Saka's going to start? Is he a good differential? I think he might start. It's between him and Grealish, but I just think he'll play a more defensive role. And I don't see a big upside to him. Oyarzabal or Dolberg? I would go for Oyarzabal this week. Morata, Lukaku, Meunier, Spinazzola, Sarabia to Insigne, Stones, Immobile, Oyarzabal, and one of Emison and Di Lorenzo for me. Very close call between the Italian defenders, 50-50. 4 England defenders too, maybe risky. It is risky, but it could pay off. Sometimes taking these risks is what propels you up the ranks. So yeah, if I obviously had the transfers available, I would be getting Pickford in for Stecklenburg, and I'd be quadrupling up on England defence too. But with this news of Sarabia being out and Berardi being benched, obviously I'm not able to do that either. But yeah, also the same boat as you in terms of Emison or Di Lorenzo, or maybe just going for Jordi Alba instead. Chiesa plus Mount or Ferran Torres plus Højbjerg? I'd go for Chiesa and Mount. Do you think a Spanish defender is worth it? I think the only one who is Jordi Alba, maybe Azpilicueta. I don't think anyone else is. Do you think Denmark strikers will get any joy versus England? I think they could. But it's just a question of which one would it be? Would it be Dolberg or Poulsen, and who's going to start? How many minutes is each one going to get, even if they do start? So there's a lot of question marks around them. That's why I'm just not so sure about them this week. Olmo or Chiesa? I'd go for Chiesa out of those two probably. Chiesa plus Mount or Ferran Torres plus Højbjerg? Yeah, Chiesa, Mount. Olmo or Torres? I'd go for Torres. Oyarzabal and Chiesa or Immobile and Olmo? Good question. I would probably go for Immobile and Olmo. Should I take a -8 hit for Spinazzola to Emison and Sarabia to Insigne? I'd probably just stick to a -4 and do Sarabia to Insigne, mate. Should I pick Oyarzabal or Dolberg? I'd pick Oyarzabal. Olmo or Torres? Torres. Chiesa or Olmo? I'd probably go for Chiesa. Jorginho or Pedri? I'd probably go for Jorginho. Emison or Alba? At the moment, I'm going for Emison, but that could change. I'm not sure about that one. Oyarzabal and Olmo and Maguire and Torres, or Morata, Maguire, Olmo and Berardi. I'd probably go for the first set of players. Torres or Olmo, Torres. Jorginho or Pedri, Jorginho. Emison or Lorenzo? At the moment, I'm going for Emison, but it's really tight. I think Lorenzo could be a bit more attacking. Thanks, mate. This really helped. I'm glad to hear it, Christoph, and good luck to you this week. Hopefully you do really well. So you're not taking any hits? I probably won't be, and I don't think you should at this stage. Last week, I took a -4. I should have taken a -8 in the end, obviously looking back on it. But at this stage, with only 2 match days left, I think the kind of upside to these hits are just, it's decreasing, because obviously you have fewer game weeks in the future for it to pay off. Is this your final 11? It might be. It might actually, instead of Torres, it might be Chiesa coming in. And instead of Emison, it might be Jordi Alba or Di Lorenzo or Bonucci, for example. So it's not completely nailed, but the rest should be. I don't think I'm going to be getting Oyarzabal despite wanting to, or Pickford for Stecklenburg. Kenny says, I keep getting work calls. Every time I post my question, I have to step away. Yeah, post a question again because I don't know if I even saw it, and I'll answer it. So yeah, no worries about that. Jordi Alba or Luke Shaw? Luke Shaw, mate, definitely. Any reason you chose Ferran Torres over Chiesa? Well, like I said, I haven't finalised this yet, and I might not even go for Ferran Torres in the end, so don't worry about that. Chiesa or Olmo? I'd say Chiesa. Jorginho or Pedri? Jorginho. Is Berardi out for Chiesa worth -4? It could be, but I don't know. It's risky. It could just be the reverse going into the final in terms of who starts. Get Messi. Yeah, I mean, what a player that would be in fantasy. Berardi to Chiesa. Yeah, I think that's worth it, especially for, no hits. Jordi Alba or Bonucci, or take a hit to get both. I would not take a hit probably if you can. Bonucci's the better one because I think Italy are more likely to keep a clean sheet. Jordi Alba has the attacking potential, but Bonucci could still nick a goal. Berardi to Sterling for a -4. I think that's one of the only hits that I've seen that is probably worth it on paper. So yeah, if that's the only way you can do it, then I go for it. Do I take a -4 for one bench player? Well, 2, but Berardi as well. Ooh, that's a difficult one. It depends who you bring in, but yeah, if you're bringing someone like Sterling in, for example, and you're increasing your squad depth, then yeah, I would recommend it. What's up, man? I don't know if you remember me back in the UCL streams. I remember you, Dr. Swan. Thank you for joining in. Just wanted to drop in and say hello and how's things. Things are really good, and thank you for joining in. And yeah, hope to see you in UCL fantasy streams next season and also in the video. So yeah, really appreciate you tuning in. Harry Maguire or Kyle Walker? Harry Maguire. Verratti any good? He is. He creates a lot of chances. He's on set pieces. He's a differential. But with the Italian midfielders, what's very difficult is that there's just so many options that anyone could haul. It could be Barella, it could be Pessina coming off the bench, it could be Chiesa, it could be Insigne, Berardi off the bench even. So yeah, so many options. -4 for Donnarumma over Simon. I wouldn't take a hit for a goalkeeper, mate. Dolberg or Oyarzabal? I'd go for Oyarzabal. Does one match day count as today and tomorrow, or just today? Don't worry, you can make substitutions, but this match day, so match day 6, counts as today and tomorrow. Chiesa or Berardi? Chiesa. Should I go -4 to change Damsgaard to Mount? Tough one, but I probably wouldn't. Would you change Torres to Olmo if it opened the Stones to Shaw swap? I wouldn't be getting rid of Stones. Obviously, I see the kind of logic behind that, but I'd be bringing Shaw in alongside Stones, so I wouldn't do that personally. Hi mate, what are you doing? Do you think I should go for Immobile or Dolberg? I'd go for Immobile out of those two. Spain players last game was subbed off so early. Don't you think they're a bad choice? Thank you. Yeah, but to be fair, Sarabia was an injury, and Morata was just, I think maybe Enrique saw something different, and that's what he's going into this game with. I do expect Ferran Torres to play at least 60 minutes or 70 minutes, but yeah, I think, to be honest, looking at it, I do actually prefer Chiesa, and he's one of my kind of picks to score today. So what I might do is get Chiesa in, and unfortunately I'm going to have Berardi. I can't get rid of him either. If I had a wild card, I'd be getting rid of Berardi, Morata and Stecklenburg, but the rest would be the exact same. And then yeah, maybe instead of Emison I could go for Jordi Alba. I've already got Italian defence, and yeah, obviously it limits the kind of risk of if Italy get eliminated, and I have to make so many transfers on Italy players already. So yeah, I might, instead of Emison, I might go for Jordi Alba, because with Emison and Di Lorenzo, there's a lot of kind of confusion there. Who's going to be the better asset? I just don't know, to be honest. It's very difficult to pick between them. Olmo or Sarabia? I go for Olmo. Sarabia's injured. Maguire or Bonucci? I'd probably say Maguire. Immobile or Oyarzabal? Immobile, but if you're looking for a differential, Oyarzabal could be your guy. Emison or Bonucci? I'd go for Emison. Berardi or Chiesa? Chiesa. Remember, Berardi is on the bench. Can I use my Limitless in the final? You can, and I would recommend using it in the final anyway, because if you use it now, yeah, you're going to be going into the final with your quarter-final team, and yeah, you wouldn't want to do that, to be honest. Thanks for all the hard work you do. Love from India. Thank you, Life on Two Wheels, and that's a really good name, by the way. Really appreciate it, and big up India. Thank you, mate. Olmo or Chiesa or Barella? I'd go for Chiesa, but Olmo and Barella are good options too. Morata for Oyarzabal and Berardi for Chiesa for a -4. Also, good luck for this game week. You too, Thierry Henry, the GOAT of the Premier League. And yeah, I think it could be worth it, to be honest, that hit. And especially, I'm assuming you've made your other transfers already. -4 for Di Lorenzo. -4 for Di Lorenzo. Probably wouldn't. Chiesa, yeah. Maguire or Oyarzabal? I'd go for Maguire. My team is the exact same as yours, apart from Simon in goal. Confidence in points? I'm fairly confident. I just don't like my midfield too much, to be honest. But yeah, the rest is decent, I guess. Chiesa or Immobile captain, I'd probably go for Immobile, but Chiesa is going to be more of a differential. Dolberg or Oyarzabal, I'd go for Oyarzabal. Olmo or Mount, I would go for Olmo. Actually, looking at the fixture, assuming that Mount starts, I go for Mount, but I just don't know exactly if he's going to start. So I'd say Mount, but take that with a pinch of salt. Why don't you have an eliminated player on the bench to have Oyarzabal? An eliminated player on the bench. Yeah, sorry, I didn't quite get that, but yeah, either way, look, I would like to get Oyarzabal, but I'm getting rid of eliminated players anyway. Morata isn't eliminated yet. He can come on as a substitute. Stecklenburg to Pickford was going to be one of my transfers. It would have been my 5th transfer, but with Sarabia now out, Chiesa is going to be coming in for him. Yeah, don't forget to sub in Emison. Yeah, of course. Or if not, it could be Jordi Alba or one of the other Italian defenders. Who do we captain in today's game? I think if you're looking for a differential, you could go for Oyarzabal, Dani Olmo or Ferran Torres. Ferran Torres would be my ideal one from Spain. And then looking at Italy, I think Immobile, Insigne and Chiesa are the best ones. But there could always be another Locatelli in there in the midfield like Barella. You never know. Yeah, you can use the Limitless in the final, Ben Fabry. Berardi to Chiesa, that looks good, Paul. Morata or Oyarzabal, I'd go for Oyarzabal. Just use Limitless. Who should I pick for Berardi, as I have Sterling, Torres and Insigne? In terms of your midfield, yeah, I'd go for those 3. And yeah, I'd probably go for Chiesa as well. And apart from that, maybe another England midfielder like Mount or Grealish. Yeah, probably that. Chiesa or Immobile captain, I'm tempted for Immobile, to be honest. -4 for Sarabia to Torres or Morata to Oyarzabal. I'd probably get Torres in because Morata could come on as a substitute. Sarabia's not even on the bench. Chiesa or Immobile captain, I'd go for Immobile. I've taken Jordi Alba or Emison. Yeah, I might do the same face, Khan. I might. Edison says, just subscribe. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it and hope to engage with you more in the future. Keep Sarabia and get Oyarzabal or keep Morata and get Verratti. I'd probably keep Morata and get Verratti. What about Azpilicueta? I've mentioned him briefly earlier, and from Spain, I think other than Jordi Alba, he's the best option from Spain. Chiesa or Immobile? Yeah, I already said that, Immobile, mate. Insigne, Chiesa or Immobile captain? Insigne is the best on paper, but I'm tempted by Immobile today. Yeah, Morata's on the bench, I know that, mate. I haven't confirmed my transfers yet, but I will be doing that soon. Mailer or Emison? I'd go for Mailer. Yeah, I'd probably still go for Mailer, especially if you already have Donnarumma. Torres or Chiesa? I'd probably go for... That's a tough one. I'd probably go for Chiesa. Olmo or Damsgaard? I'd go for Olmo. Thoughts on having no Danish players? No Danish players. I'd probably have 1 or 2. Mailer in defence and yeah, maybe Dolberg or Damsgaard in the midfield or attack. Barella or Mount? I probably would go for Mount. I've already got Shaw, Alba, Mailer. Which other 2 defenders should I bring in? Maguire or Stones? And maybe an Italian defender like Di Lorenzo or Emison. But yeah, I think what I'm going to do, because I want to cover all bases, I think I'm going to go for Jordi Alba. I know it's not really ideal. Maybe Azpilicueta, to be fair. He's 8% ownership. Yeah, I've probably go with Jordi Alba. I just really like his attacking potential. Yeah, and I've got 1 million remaining. I could even go for Ferran Torres instead of Chiesa. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, not in a great position here. Because, yeah, I would want to get rid of Berardi, Morata and Stecklenburg. But, yeah, this is what I probably will go for. But yeah, I mean, wow, who would have thought that in a semi-final we're going to have some of these players in our team? I mean, it's crazy. Let's see. Let me try to get through these questions. Emison or Larson? I'd go for Emison there. Di Lorenzo or Maguire? I'd go for Maguire. I had to put in Verratti as I couldn't stretch to Chiesa. Yeah, that sounds okay, Nick, to be honest. Olmo or Damsgaard? I'd go for Olmo. Who would you pick for Morata, as I have used Limitless? Kane, Immobile and Oyarzabal. It would be the same front three in a wildcard too. Thanks, lad, for your help. You're always the best in helping my team. Love from Malaysia. Thank you, and big up Malaysia once again, and appreciate the kind words. And just tell me how to improve and I'll try to do it. Donnarumma or Simon? Already have Emison and Di Lorenzo. Interesting. I mean, I would say Donnarumma anyway, to be honest, and I probably still would. No problem, Suhas. If you have any more questions, let me know. Alba or Stones? Have Simon already? I'd go for Stones, definitely. Di Lorenzo or Emison? I would go for Emison maybe, but that's really tough. I think Di Lorenzo might have a bit more attacking potential, but he's also more susceptible to getting sent off or getting a yellow card or conceding a penalty. Will Morata come on? I would suspect so, Darren, but either way, even if he doesn't, I'm just not in a position where I'm going to take hits for him. Chiesa or Barella? I would probably, I'd go for Chiesa. -4 hit with Shaw instead of Spinazzola. It might be worth it, but I'm not sure if he'll pay off this week. I don't know if Shaw's going to get another, mega haul. But I think if you are to take a hit for a defender, Shaw would be it. Spanish or Italian defender, Alba versus Emison. I mean, I prefer Alba out of the two, but I think Italy are more likely to keep a clean sheet anyway, to be honest. Torres or Olmo? Already have Chiesa. Torres or Olmo? I'd go for Torres. What will you do if Spain and Denmark win? I'd probably delete the game, but to be honest, I'd just use my 5 free transfers to assemble an 11. But obviously on paper I've only got 4 players, and I'd have to take hits. So it might be worth, changing things up a bit. It might be worth, instead of Chiesa, going for Ferran Torres, for example. But I mean, I do think England and Italy, one of them will win. I'm fairly sure of that. Well, not fairly sure, but I'm confident of that. Chiesa or Mount? Chiesa. Chiesa or Barella? Chiesa. Barella or Chiesa? Chiesa. Alba or Stones? I'll go for Stones. Who would you pick for Morata? As I said before, I'd go for Oyarzabal. Is Pedri worth it? I think he could be a good differential. I'm torn between Olmo and Chiesa. I'd go for Chiesa out of those two. Who are you putting as your captain for today? I'm probably going to be going for Immobile or Insigne. And actually, let me finalise these transfers now. I would go for Di Lorenzo, but I don't like how susceptible he is to yellow cards, penalties, etc. Florenzi might come in for the final if Italy could progress. Emison, I'm not so sure. And Spain could still score a goal. And I want to have a bit more Spanish cover because I'm getting rid of Sarabia for Chiesa. So it's a bit of a very weird situation I'm in with 3 Italian midfielders too. But I am covering their attack very well, I think. Hopefully, there's some points there to be earned. But I think this is how I'm going to go for, Luke Shaw, Maguire. 5 free transfers, 1 million remaining. Unfortunately, I can't get Pickford in for Stecklenburg. But either way, if Italy and England go through to the final, that would give me a bit of a headache in terms of who do I start from those 2 keepers. So, if Italy go through, I'll just have Donnarumma as my starting keeper in the final. But a lot of ifs here. But I think Insigne nailed, Maguire, Luke Shaw, and then Jordi Alba and Chiesa just to complete the team. I think that's what I could go for. Could maybe go for Ferran Torres instead of Chiesa. I have enough money for that. So that's an interesting one, and that could be a 50-50 decision, to be honest. And even Jordi Alba compared to Bonucci or to Di Lorenzo, all these other players, they're all 50-50 decisions. Could really be tough. But I think this is what I'm going to go with. If Spain keep a clean sheet and go through, that I would regret not going for Jordi Alba. So I'll just go for this and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to be finalising my team now. So as you can see here, 5 free transfers. Sarabia out for Chiesa. Remember, Sarabia isn't even on the bench tonight. Kevin De Bruyne out for Insigne. Spinazzola out for Shaw. Kimpembe out for Jordi Alba. And Dumfries out for Maguire, who I should have got in last week. And as you can see, I've played my Limitless and Wildcard. I think this is what I'm going to go for. No Oyarzabal in as a differential, unfortunately. But here we go. I've confirmed them. Hopefully I haven't made a mistake with one of the transfers somehow. Let's bring in Jordi Alba in for one of the players playing tomorrow, which is any of the England players or Danish players, or Danish players should I say. I don't know why I'm saying Danish. Sounds a bit weird. But I mean, as you can see, Morata and Berardi benched. Not ideal, to be honest. Might be worth taking a hit, maybe, but I just don't think I will. If I will say this, if I had enough money to do Berardi to Ferran Torres, then I would do that. I would take a -4 hit from Berardi to Ferran Torres, but otherwise I think I'm going to leave it as it is, to be honest. So as you can see here, Damsgaard, Mailer and Maguire are on my bench. They all play tomorrow. Remember, you can still make substitutions during the substitution window, which is obviously, you can see it here. After this game is done, up until the next game, you can make subs and change your captain. So anyone on your bench, including your goalkeeper and 3 outfield players, you can bring on. And it will be Maguire, Mailer and Damsgaard in my case. No goalkeeper. in reserve. And yeah, my starting lineup is Donnarumma in goal, Jordi Alba, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Raheem Sterling, Insigne, Berardi, Chiesa, Morata, Kane, and Immobile. And in terms of captaincy, I think I'm going to be going for Insigne or Immobile, but Chiesa is also a bit of an interesting one. But to be honest, I think I might actually go for Immobile. I don't know why. He could do well. Not so sure though. Yeah, Insigne, when he does score, he tends to get 7-8 points. So quite similar to Immobile, to be fair. Chiesa, very, very explosive in UCL Fantasy. Not so sure about this. Daniel says Chiesa or Verratti. I'd say Chiesa, and yeah, don't spam the chat, please. Insigne captain, says Sebastian to Faisal. Let's see. So Immobile or Insigne captain. It's between them two for me. If you want to go differential, then it's probably advisable to look elsewhere. But yeah, I think Insigne is the better option on paper, but I'm not so sure. I think Immobile could get a lot of chances tonight. Who is on penalties for Italy? I think it's Jorginho. Yeah, that's what I think. Chiesa or Verratti? Yeah, as I said, Chiesa. Barella's a worthy try. I think he's a worthy try. Same with Verratti and all these other midfielders who are around 6 million, a bit of a dodgy price. Berardi to Chiesa for a -4. Is it worth it? It might be, yeah. It might be. I mean, I was just talking about it now. Berardi to Torres might be worth it for a -4, and I've brought in Chiesa, so I'd probably say, yeah, it might be worth it. Is Walker a good differential as I don't have money for Shaw? Honestly, I mean, I would rather have Shaw because he's just so offensive. But yeah, Walker might be a good differential. You never know. He might get an assist or a goal, and that could be, the difference for you. Should I triple up on England in defence or go with Mailer and 2 England players? I'd probably go for 2 England players and Mailer. I have Damsgaard on my bench. Do I keep him or get in someone else for him? I already have Insigne, Barella, Sterling and Torres in midfield. Is it Burley worth keeping or shall I swap to Chiesa? So if you have no other transfers to make, Mickey, I probably would make that transfer. But otherwise, there's no need, especially for a hit, for example. Sterling or Insigne? That's a tough question, actually. I'd get I can't even speak. I'd go for Sterling because of the fixture. Yeah, I probably would. But Insigne is a very good choice. Bonucci or Alba? Bonucci is more likely to keep a clean sheet, but if you already have Donnarumma and another Italian defender, then just go for Alba. Immobile or Oyarzabal? Immobile. Immobile, Olmo, Insigne, Torres. Who to captain? I probably would go for Insigne or Immobile, and I might change the captaincy myself to Immobile in the end. Olmo or Barella? I probably would go for Olmo. Chiesa or Immobile for captain? I go for Immobile out of those two, but Chiesa's one to look out for. Alba or Emison? Tough one once again. Emison more likely to keep a clean sheet, but Jordi Alba has more attacking potential. If you already have Italian defence, go for Alba. Otherwise, go for Emison. I've taken Ferran Torres over Chiesa, mate. Fair enough, yeah. I mean, I almost did that myself, but in the end, I just went with Chiesa, and we'll see what happens there. I do back Italy to go through, but it could backfire, to be honest. But at least I got Jordi Alba in. Is Insigne your captain, or are you changing it? I might change it to Immobile, but other than that, I think it's fairly settled. Drink water, dude. Oh, yeah, I will at one point, don't worry, mate. Why 3-4-3 formation? Well, it just doesn't matter anyway because it could change based on who comes on tomorrow and who blanks today. So it doesn't really matter what formation you play, to be honest. I've never seen a streamer read so many comments. Great work, dude. Yeah, no, thank you for that, Nick Sharp. And yeah, I try my best, but today I've unfortunately missed a lot of them. Apologies for that. But yeah, drink water, your throat will hurt. I appreciate the concern, Khan. Yeah, don't worry, I'll be fine. I'll drink some more now, actually. Best captain, Immobile, Oyarzabal, Insigne, Barella or Torres. I'd probably say Immobile or Insigne. And if you want a differential, then maybe go for Torres. That's what I'd say. Mason Mount or Chiesa? I go for Chiesa. 3 English defenders overkill? I don't think so. I'm going for 3 myself. But if you're going for quadruple England defenders, and we're not even talking about Pickford here, I would say that's overkill. Have one more transfer, change Berardi or Sarabia to Chiesa. I'd change Sarabia because Sarabia's not even on the bench tonight. At least Berardi is, and he's more likely to go through, at least on paper. Oyarzabal or Dolberg or keep Morata than any England midfielder. Apart from Sterling, I'd say Mason Mount or Jack Grealish are probably the standout England midfielders. I don't expect Jadon Sancho to start. Even if Saka does, I just don't see enough attacking potential from him. He might do more of a defensive job for Southgate. But yeah, out of those two strikers you said, I would prefer Oyarzabal for this week. Would you use your last transfer on Pickford or Alba? I'm guessing those are for eliminated players. I'd probably go for Alba. Because, yeah, one goalkeeper is enough anyway. Morata or Oyarzabal? I would go for Oyarzabal. Thank you, Pedro Silva. Really appreciate it, mate. Serious doubt about captain? So am I. And to be honest, most people are going for Insigne. So that does tempt me a bit to go for Immobile, to be honest. Or maybe even someone else like Chiesa. And this is the time to really, go for something else. Yeah, I'm just not so sure, to be honest, in terms of captaincy. But either way, tomorrow I'm a bit more certain. I'd probably go for Harry Kane. And remember, try to get your transfers done early, because I remember going into Matchday 3, there was complete mayhem. The site was crashing and I barely was able to get my team together, and ended up being a bit of a disaster, in my opinion. Dolberg or Morata? I would go for, well, probably Dolberg. He's more likely to start. Mount or Verratti? I'd go for Mount. Jorginho, good option, and he could be a very good differential for you. 2 Italian defenders and 2 England defenders with Pickford. Thoughts? I mean, yeah, you're pretty much got a triple up in England defence and 2 Italian defenders. That looks good, to be honest. Should I take a hit for Oyarzabal to replace Morata? I wouldn't do that, Cunningham. That's just my opinion, though. Get Eric Garcia and 4 England defenders. From Spain, I would go for Azpilicueta or Jordi Alba. I wouldn't go for anyone else, really, from the Spain defence. Damsgaard with Bonucci or Chiesa with Pau Torres. I'd probably go for Damsgaard and Bonucci, because Pau Torres isn't starting tonight, and I doubt he's going to come on and get his customary assist from the bench. Oyarzabal or Dolberg? I'll go for Oyarzabal. Big up Dylan, I've loved watching your FPL videos weekly, and I'm really enjoying the Euro Fantasy videos and streams. You deserve all the success. Thank you, Mickey. And yeah, I remember all the times you've joined in FPL, and I really appreciate it, of course. And yeah, always with good questions and good vibes and good comments. So I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much. Diver says, dude, I prefer Barella to Olmo. Is Barella good enough? If you prefer Barella, then go for him, It's all down to opinions. And I personally prefer Olmo from an attacking perspective, but Barella's more likely to go through, in my opinion. And he has shown that he can score and he can get into the box and create chances. So Barella is good enough, to answer your question. No problem. Miguel, I think that is. Miguel98, thank you so much. Why not Immobile as captain? I might go for him, mate. I might actually go for him in the end. I haven't really been too impressed with him. I really liked Insigne against Belgium, but it could be a kind of case of chasing points there. And with Insigne, he could have maybe one chance or one shot, really good shot in the game and score. But other than that, he doesn't really get into the positions you want. He can be really wide. So I might end up going for Immobile, but it could backfire either way. It's a 50-50 decision. Should I bring in Oyarzabal instead of Morata, or will Morata come on? I think Morata will come on, but will he come on for enough time to make an impact? I'm not sure, especially against an Italian defence like that. But I wouldn't bring in Oyarzabal for a hit, but if it's for free, then yeah, I'd go for it. Is it a big risk to go with 6 English players? It is, and I'm saying that as someone who has 5, and I would have gone for 6 if I was able to move Stecklenburg to Pickford. But yeah. Miguel says, subscribe. Thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it. And yeah, hope to see you in more live streams and videos, as I always say. Emison captaincy, fair enough. And actually, he was someone I mentioned in terms of captaincy in my team selection video. Yeah, it's an interesting one, to be honest. I've taken Ferran Torres as captain. YOLO. You might as well. I mean, it actually might be worth going for someone else. And to be honest, I'm now looking at Chiesa and Immobile. Yeah, Immobile's 48% owned now. Jesus, that's a big, even more than Insigne. Damn, but in terms of a lot of players in the community, most people are going for Insigne captain. I think I might even take a punt on Chiesa or something like that and go for him captain. Although in this tournament his ceiling hasn't been too high. He's only got 1 goal for Italy, so that's something worth considering. Maybe I should have gone for Ferran Torres, but I might go for Immobile captain. Why not? I'm not going to go for Donnarumma or Jordi Alba though. If Spinazzola was playing, I would probably be going for him instead. Captain between Oyarzabal, Olmo, Torres. I probably would captain Torres from those 3. Stones or Emison? I'd go for Stones. Chiesa or Insigne for captain? I'd go for Insigne, but if you're looking for a differential, go for Chiesa. Reasoning for Insigne captain? Well, to be honest, I've got Immobile right now, but it's really tough between all of them. I think with Insigne, he can score from outside the box. You get an extra point for scoring outside the box. And if not, he can get a clean sheet point. And just in general, Insigne's got assist potential and goal potential. He's on set pieces, and he's a very tricky player. He's a very good dribbler. He can get into these one-on-one situations, but he does play very wide as well, so it kind of goes both ways. But yeah, I mean, he's going to be up against Azpilicueta, you would imagine, so it's going to be an interesting toss-up there. Torres or Chiesa? I mean, I went with Chiesa in the end, but Torres is a very good option too. Getting Chiesa or getting Alba in place of Pau Torres. It depends who you get Chiesa in for, mate. I'm guessing it's for Sarabia, and if that's the case, I'd probably get him in for Sarabia. Chiesa or Insigne, I'd go for Insigne. Barella or Ferran Torres, I'd go for Torres. Ferran Torres or Chiesa, it's very tough. I mean, I went with Chiesa myself, but you could easily go for Ferran Torres. Can you change captain after the one match? Yeah, you can, mate. And if you do change your captain, yeah, for today, go for an Italian attacker if you back them to score. So maybe Insigne or Immobile or Chiesa. And for tomorrow, I'd go for Kane probably. And if not, you could go for a differential like Luke Shaw or Sterling or someone else really. Yeah, I remember you, Adil. I think you always called me, I can't remember the name of the YouTuber. Tani, I think it is. I think it's you who said that. But yeah, I think I remember you. Kimps says, thank you, really good stream. Thank you, Kimps, really appreciate it. And if you have any questions, then let me know. Barella, Berardi or Chiesa, I'd go for Chiesa. Immobile 52% owned now. Are you serious? Oh my god, yeah, a lot of people are leaving the transfers for late. And let's see, 2-1 Italy. Immobile to score first. Italy to score first. I think I'll go for that. Let's check this. I think you're right. I'm not, doubting you. 54% owned. Jesus Christ. Are you serious? It literally went up 6% in a matter of minutes. Oh my god. Yeah, people are definitely waiting for the lineups. I mean, wow, a lot of tryhards in this game this year. But yeah, it is what it is. Still, there's going to be a lot of dead teams, even around high ranks. So it's a chance for us to make big gains. And even these kind of sensible or boring picks, they could accumulate and build up to a big increase in rank. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Immobile or Insigne captain? I'm not sure about that one, mate. I mean, I'm literally torn between the two. At the moment, I'm going for Immobile. I just think he might get a lot of chances in the central area. But if we're looking at the Euros, I think Insigne has been more impressive, at least, looking at, as an overall player. Day one, you should play high risk, high captain reward, then save Harry Kane as day two captain. Yeah, I agree, but I would only play high risk, high captain with someone I trust, and Immobile's like over 50% owned now, so he's not really a differential, is he? So maybe it's worth going for Chiesa. And now what? Is he going to be 20% owned? Yeah, he's 16% owned, so he's already gone up quite a bit. What about Insigne? 47%! Oh my god. He was actually 39% a few minutes ago. Let's see actually all the ownerships now. 51% for Donnarumma. Damsgaard, 8%. Mela, 27%. Maguire, 19%. Stones 37, Luke Shaw 45, Jordi Alba 27, Berardi 12% because he's not starting anyway. Raheem Sterling 51, Harry Kane, is he going to be 60? Yeah, 59. Oh my god, Morata 23, and yeah, Immobile. I mean, if I refresh the page again, let's see, is he gone up? God, I hope this doesn't mess up my team, by the way. Okay, no, he hasn't gone up again. Okay, that would be madness if he did. But yeah, Jesus, this is all going up. Captain Emison or Immobile? If you want a differential, go for Emison, but I'm personally going for Immobile. Will German Torres be striker, in my opinion? German Torres. Played there before in games. Well, apparently it's going to be Oyarzabal, but then some people were saying it's going to be Olmo as a false nine, so that's a tough one. I think Torres could be the striker. He has done that before in the friendlies leading up to the Euros. Bring one Italy defence or Stones? I'd go for Stones. Emison or Alba? I personally went for Alba, but if you don't have Italian cover in defence, go for Emison. Olmo or Verratti? I go for Olmo. Immobile or Insigne captain? I mean, I'm personally going for Immobile, but it's really tough between them. There's not really much in it. In my original fantasy, Insigne and Oyarzabal are both strikers. Who would you pick? I go for Insigne. Chiesa or Verratti? Chiesa. Is it worth making space for Luke Shaw, or is Maguire good? Maguire's good, but I wouldn't be getting rid of him for Luke Shaw. I'd get Luke Shaw alongside Maguire. Morata to Immobile, I think that's worth it, especially if it's not for a hit. Insigne or Immobile, at the moment I'm going for Immobile, but literally it's a 50-50 decision. I'd just back your gut on that one if you want Insigne's kind of assist and goal potential, or instead you want Immobile's just goal threat and getting into those positions where Spanish defenders are probably going to be very, very vulnerable. Emison or Bonucci? I'd go for Emison, but Bonucci still has a lot of threat in there. Ronaldo or Lukaku? Insigne or Immobile captain? At the moment I'm going for Immobile, but he's higher owned anyway, so to be honest I might, in my own case anyway, go for Chiesa. Verratti or Barella? I'd go for Barella, but they're both good options. Insigne versus Azpilicueta or Immobile versus Laporte? Think of it like that. Yeah, that's true. I would probably fancy Immobile a bit more because he could also target Eric Garcia, who I just don't rate at all. Berardi to Mount for a -4, I wouldn't do that myself. Maguire, Emison or Di Lorenzo? I'd go for Maguire. Pedri or Torres? I'd go for Torres, Sam. Do you play FPL? I do. I played it last year, I made videos on it, and I'll be making more deadline streams like this and more team selection videos and all of that, chip strategy videos in the future. Sarabia ready for a Euro final? I'm not sure, and that's why I got rid of him anyway, because even if Spain go through, he's probably a serious doubt for the final too, but yeah, we don't know yet. Torres or Insigne captain? If you want a differential, go for Torres. Otherwise, I think Insigne is probably the better option. Just got the certain players in: Insigne, Immobile, Stones and Oyarzabal. Leaving Lorenzo versus Emison in the last minute, I'd be annoyed if there is a huge difference in score. Yeah, those sorts of decisions are 50-50 and, sometimes just mainly down to luck, to be honest. Worth one hit changing Morata and Seferovic for Immobile and Oyarzabal, or just Seferovic for Immobile? I probably would just do Seferovic for Immobile. All the best. Just one more round after this. We'll miss the deadline stream. Thanks for the help. Thank you, Sharma. Really appreciate it. And all the very best of luck to you as well. I might just choose Torres as he might play as a striker. Plus, he's a differential captaincy. Yeah, I think if I had Torres as well in your situation, I probably would go for him. And I might even go for Chiesa myself. It's an interesting one. Jorginho or Chiesa? Yeah, I go for Chiesa. Also going for Chiesa captaincy. At the moment, going for a punt in hope of making a bit of ground when it is very hard and maybe impossible in the final. Then the safe backup of Kane and Shaw and Sterling if I wish. Yeah, I completely get that, and I might even go for Chiesa myself in the end. Because yeah, Immobile's ownership is just way higher than I expected, or from the last time I checked. Immobile will get subbed off for Belotti. Yeah, that's true, he might do, especially around the 60th, 70th minute will mark, and especially if he's having a stinker. Take a hit for Chiesa on Damsgaard. I wouldn't do that personally. From the Italian attack, I now have Immobile, Insigne, Chiesa and Barella. Imagine the scenes now if Verratti scores. I mean, there's nothing you can do about that, Arnab, and if it does, then it is what it is. Is one hit worth it? I think one hit could be worth it, especially for a player like Sterling or Kane. But in most cases, it's going to be very risky. Stones, Pedri or Maguire, Jorginho? I would go for Maguire, Jorginho. Immobile or Chiesa captain? I think as a differential, you definitely want to go for Chiesa. Change Sarabia for Chiesa to a -4. I think it could be worth it in that case, yeah. But in general, I wouldn't be kind of advocating hits. Jorginho for Jorginho or Damsgaard. If you had the choice, I'd go for Jorginho right now. Simon or Donnarumma? No Spain defence right now. Depends how many Italian defenders you have. If you only have one, then you might as well go Donnarumma anyway. Otherwise, maybe it's worth going for Simon, but I'd go for Donnarumma, my opinion. Thoughts on Mount? I think he's a good option. I think he will start. And if you want a bit more of a differential midfielder, then him, Jack Grealish could be the answer. But yeah, I mean, I personally just don't like him too much as an asset. His ceiling isn't too high generally. Insigne or Chiesa captaincy? If you want a differential, go for Chiesa, I think. But Insigne could do well. Captain for tomorrow? Probably Harry Kane, mate. But if not, I could go for Sterling or a cheeky punt on someone like Luke Shaw. But I'm probably going to be going for Harry Kane. And just another double check, just in case. Harry Maguire, Mailer, Damsgaard on my bench. They play tomorrow. And then, yeah, everyone who is starting today or playing today is in my starting lineup. Make sure to do that. Remember, you can still make substitutions after this game is finished and before England versus Denmark. Mount or Torres? I would go for Torres. Who will be on pens for Spain? I think it'll be Oyarzabal. I have Lorenzo and Emison. Yeah, I think those are two really good differentials. 1% and 2% owned. Well, they were at the time. They probably aren't anymore. But yeah. Alright, thanks for the stream, mate. High quality stuff as always. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Arnab, and good luck. And I will be wrapping up myself soon, just in time for the game. But yeah, I really appreciate everyone who is still here. 170 people. Should I transfer out Berardi or Damsgaard? I probably would go for transfer out. I mean, this is a tough one because Berardi's more likely to go through. But Damsgaard is probably going to start. But then again, he could come off around the 60th minute. If you had to pick, maybe Berardi. take a hit for Luke Shaw over Christensen. If you already have Mailer, then yeah, maybe you could get away with that. Otherwise, I'd keep it as it is. Yeah, it would be nice to see us on pens for Spain. Not expected you to know, of course. Just curious if they get one. Yeah, I completely get that. But in my opinion, based on who's a good penalty taker in Spain, I think it's Oyarzabal. He's only missed one penalty in his career, I believe, and it was against Manchester United in the Europa League. I have Berardi and Chiesa on the squad. What should I do? Well, I mean, it is what it is. I've got them as well. And yeah, Berardi's probably just going to be getting 1 or 2 points from now on, to be honest. Chiesa, Immobile, Insigne captain. If you want a differential, just go for Chiesa and keep it simple. And then you have the England players tomorrow to fall back on. But I think Insigne and Immobile are very good captaincy options today. And I just have a feeling about Immobile. So I'm just going to go for him. And if it doesn't work out, then I'll just change it. But yeah, in terms of how many points do I need to keep the captaincy on Immobile or whoever I captain in the end, I would probably just take a return. Even 6 points, 7 points, I'll be happy with that and I'll take it. Thank you for your help. You're awesome. Thank you, Mike Freeman. Really appreciate it. And yeah, hope to see you in more live streams in the future. One transfer to go, Sterling or Bonucci? I'd go for Sterling probably, especially considering the fixture. And thank you everyone who is here. I'm going to be wrapping up. I mean, trying to think. Yeah, I mean, we'll stay around for the deadline, or at least, yeah, for the deadline passing, just in case there's any last minute questions. And yeah, this is pretty much it. My team is locked in. A bit boring, I guess, but it is what it is. And I've definitely learned a lot, about these kind of Euro fantasy games. And it's actually taught me a lot about UCL fantasy because it's very similar with the Limitless and Wildcard. So I'm going to be taking some of the things I've done wrong in this tournament going into UCL Fantasy, and I'll be making guides, videos, team selection videos, deadline streams, all of that for you. And I'll be talking about the best ways to approach it. And in that game, I think I finished in the top, actually can't remember now, but I think I finished in the top 5k in the world or something like that. So I want to be, getting similar ranks in FPL potentially, and also Euro Fantasy in the future, and also World Cup games. So it's definitely worth learning from our mistakes. Mac or Windows? I'm on Windows, mate. But yeah, not really like I have a preference. Best keeper option, I think Pickford, Robbie. No problem, Jose Manuel, and good luck to you as well. And big up Chile as well. Emison, a good differential captain? I think he is. And I talked about him in my team selection video as a differential captain. I think he's a decent one. I'm not so sure if his attacking upside is there, like it was with Spinazzola, but you never know. Barella or Insigne captain? Yeah, I'd say Insigne. Ratio, says Jamie. Oh no, I can only guess what's being said around there. Lorenzo, I would assume, is more attacking, maybe a liability. Emerson, more likely. This guy's not you, Marco, don't worry. A message has popped up. Emerson, more likely to bank 6. Not sure the most expensive is better. I've lost out on going off the more expensive player, like me versus Lowton. Yeah, I think he's going to be more offensive, but at the same time, he's also more, susceptible to conceding a penalty or a yellow card or all that BS. But yeah, I think Emison, yeah, more likely to bank 6. I completely agree pretty much with your analysis there. Insigne or Immobile captain? I mean, I've gone for Immobile myself, but back your gut on that one. I think Insigne he's got more avenues for points, but I just don't know. I just see this game and I think Immobile could score. You have to be a man and captain Barella. Okay, that's one way of looking at it, Kevin. I'm going Donnarumma, Walker, Maguire, Mailer, Sterling, Insigne captain, Berardi, Barella, Jorginho, Immobile, Kane. Yeah, that's a good lineup, to be honest. I'm trying to think of a flaw there. I don't like Walker too much, but you know what? He could do the business, and sometimes these kind of differentials are going to be, doing the business for us. If you would be given 50 points right now, would you take it? No, I would not. I would definitely not. And the deadline has passed, and that's it. The game has started. I'm going to be tuning into the game now, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't be taking 50 points. Thanks for all the comments and streams. Hope to stay first in Chile. Oh yeah, you're first in Chile. Yeah, I remember that. That's really good. And good luck with that. And hopefully you continue rising up the ranks. And thank you to everyone who's been watching. I'm going to be closing this off now. And remember to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Dylan_RCM is the same as my YouTube handle. And yeah, just enjoy the football as always. And I'm going to be doing that myself, hopefully. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Who's going to win the Euros? That's going to be interesting. And yeah, hopefully Argentina win Copa America. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. And I'll see you